Can you feel it? Nothing can save ya, cause this is the season of funky behavior. I came to relax your mind, you can recline. On what? On this here rhyme. I like the style, I'm staying for a while. It helps me show cats that I'm versatile. I'll touch your dial, turn your frown to a smile. I'll make you feel like you're having a child. So relax and open up, child. I'm about to make you walk what? Pimp style or pimped out style. You don't understand the logic. See, if you don't have it all, I'll take a deposit. I got shit for you, it's alright indeed. It's like going to the garden and planting the seed. You might tickle for a second, but it won't bleed. So just relax, just hear a dope track. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Just relax and just hear a dope track. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Your entertainment at the same time, edutainment. In other words, you could call it bent. What I'm saying is that I'm here at your service. It's hard work, but then again, I deserve this. I'm helping people enjoy their spare time. I'm like an instructor when I'm doing my rhyme. Relax and just hear the dope track. It's really not all that, it's not like a gag. We like that when everything is relaxed and chill. You don't have to get fucked up or take pills, cause I like being myself, it feels good. Yo, it makes my meals taste good. 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 So just relax. It's your dope track. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Just relax and hear a dope track. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Just relax. My mind state, now balloon, it won't inflate. Just take the buzz, this much wiser kid, fuck the shade. And take it to a lower level, and dig a ditch for a devil. Got some more kids and pass the shovel. Dig a hole, take them on a spiritual roll. Lyrics unfold, either that or unroll the scroll. Episodes keep reoccurring and stifling. People's vision get blurring, their hearts start murmuring. I'm about 5 times iller than a Sherman. Introspection is God's gift to the miracle. I freak material, lamb's milk without the cereal. When MCs say your booty, they mean venereal. Your fake material hip-hop killers, they more faking than fucking Michael Jackson and Thriller. The status of a hoe, Quanto Costa. They wanna know how much it costs, kid, I bet for keep tell me just relax and just hear a dope track. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you could wear your hat. Just relax and just hear a dope track. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you could wear your hat. Just relax.
Y'all, we back at it again. V Media. It is January the 5th, 2025, 0846 Central European Time. Yeah, and good morning to everybody out here. That's 0846 Africa Time, West Coast, and that is also 246 Eastern Standard Time, USA. South America, 8 same time frame, and that would be 11:46 p.m., right? That would be 11:46 on the Pacific time for the Americas also. So big up everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. Also, everybody out there in Asia, I guess it would be around. In Asia, it would be almost lunchtime now, pretty close to lunchtime, maybe 11 o'clock out there. Let me know what time it is next time, if any of you are in the chat from Asia. Yeah, because I get that confused sometimes. Just I need to really remind myself of what it is, or what it actually is, the time difference out there. But I hope everybody had a good weekend and a good Happy New Year, a good holiday period, winter holiday. It's actually cold out here in Copenhagen. I mean, it snowed for the last 2 days, a lot of snow, and first real snow we had in a year. You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of pleasant to see that. If you grew up with snow, you kind of get used to that in your brain. It's somewhere deep in the back of your brain. And where I grew up, Washington, D.C., we had snow all the goddamn time, like loads of snow every winter pretty much, or, and then in the summer, loads of heat. You know what I'm saying? The opposite, but they both come like clockwork. So I guess that's how it is on the when you're more closer to the equator, you know what I'm saying, in certain areas. But yeah, having said that, the news goes on and the world goes on, and things, I guess more small bits of information are leaking out regarding this situation with Venezuela, the information with Nigeria, Trump is all over the place and he's a hot mess. And we know that, what's up, Donnie? And we know that, what's up? Say what's up to Shaka too for me. My eye forever when you get a chance if you rap with him. I seen he's been uploading. So, but check this out, man. I mean, dude is a hot mess basically. And, we know what the plan is. The plan is slip JD Vance in there because homeboy is really like deteriorating in front of the world's eyes, or it is slip Mark Rubio in there, right? Those are the first things that come to the mind. But they both are a hot mess. I mean, nobody wants someone that doesn't have a backbone, and neither Mark Rubio or JD Vance have a backbone, right? And nobody wants someone that don't have their own ideas, right? Fresh, new ideas. Nobody fucking wants that anymore. No one wants a sycophant, a Trump sycophant. But apparently that's all they got in the Trump cabinet. So I think that is what's taking so goddamn long, because let me just look this up right now. Don't you need more than one person to report this MF sick? Let's just dig that up real quick before I get into the news here. How many people have to report a president not able to serve before he can be removed by, is that how it works? His cabinet. If the president is a hot mess. Shit, we gotta get this. Let's get it clear. There's no point in guessing about this shit anymore. This is taking too goddamn long, and people got shit to do. People have lives to live. Okay, what it says here, look. I'm just gonna play it. It's early in the morning.
Under the 25th Amendment, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution, it doesn't matter how many general citizens or lower-level officials report a president as a hot mess. The only people whose reports count to initiate the process are the vice president and a majority of the cabinet. Here is the breakdown of the numbers in the process. 1. The initial removal, temporary, to strip the president of their power immediately. The following people must sign a written declaration. The vice president, their participation is required. Without the VP, Section 4 cannot be used. A majority of the cabinet. There are currently 15 executive departments, state, treasury, defense, etc. Therefore, at least 8 out of the 15 department heads must sign the letter along with the VP. As soon as this letter is delivered to the leaders of Congress, the vice president becomes the acting president. 2. If the president fights back. If the president is a hot mess, but still insists they are fine, they can send a counter letter to Congress stating that no inability exists. The rebuttal. Once the president does this, they would normally get their power back. The block. To prevent the president from taking power back, the vice president and the majority of the cabinet have 4 days to send another letter to Congress reaffirming that the president is unable to serve. 3. The final decision, permanent removal. Once the second letter is sent, the decision moves to Congress. This is where the bar becomes much higher than a simple majority. The vote. Both the House of Representatives and the Senate must vote on the issue. The requirement. A two-thirds supermajority in both chambers is required to keep the president from resuming office. The outcome: if Congress reaches that 2/3 threshold, the vice president remains acting president. If they fail to get 2/3 in either house, the president resumes their duties. Summary table. Step: who is involved? What is required? Initiation: VP plus cabinet.
So there we have it, right? So it's required. Who's required? Let me see here. Under the 25th Amendment, Section 4. So this is very similar to impeachment of Congress. I mean, it's still got to go through Congress, right? The 25th Amendment, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution. It doesn't matter how many general citizens or lower level officials report a president as a hot mess. The only people whose reports count to initiate the process are the vice president and the majority of cabinet. So they have to do it together. And that was pretty much my idea. Like, they have to agree to get this MFA out of there. And if they don't agree, if they don't come to some agreement, it's not going to actually happen. And so I think that's it right there. And I don't think they can agree. I think that's the issue, because you got people with a lot of interest, that are getting a lot of taxpayer dollars. Elon Musk is getting a lot of taxpayer dollars. Peter Thiel is getting a lot of taxpayer dollars. And you don't know how that's playing out among cabinet members. You don't know how well these people get along, how, if they don't get along, can they trust each other? How well do they treat each other? Who is his cabinet? The next question is, who is his goddamn cabinet? Let's just be really clear. It said how many must be in the cabinet? Who are his cabinet members? Let's just see here. Let me just do that real quick just to make sure I get the gist of the entire thing, right? Before I move on to the news. Let's see here. Let's make sure we get this straight. Who's his damn cabinet? Just to make sure we get all the names up here officially, right? Is that here? Come on now. Here we go.
To remove a president under the 25th Amendment, you need the vice president and 8 of the...
What? Oh, here it is. Did it not? It just went back to that? All right. Let's do that again.
15 heads of the executive departments. As of January 2026, here are the key individuals in President Trump's cabinet who would hold that power. The essential vote. Vice President J.D. Vance. Without his signature, the process cannot even begin. The 15 executive department heads. For the 25th Amendment to work, at least 8 of these people must sign the declaration along with J.D. Vance. Department. Head of Department, State, Marco Rubio. Treasury, Scott Bessent. Defense, Pete Hegseth. Justice, Attorney General, Pam Bondi. Interior, Doug Burgum. Agriculture, Brooke Rollins. Commerce, Howard Lutnick. Labor, Lori Chavez Derrimer. Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Housing and Urban Development, Scott Turner. Transportation, Sean Duffy. Energy, Chris Wright. Education, Linda McMahon. Veterans Affairs, Doug Collins. Homeland Security, Kristi Noem. Why? Cabinet level, officials don't count. You might see other famous names in the administration, like Tulsi Gabbard, National Intelligence, or John Ratcliffe, CIA. While they are cabinet-level advisors, the law is generally interpreted to mean only the 15 heads of the executive departments listed above have a legal vote in the 25th Amendment process.
Okay.
What would happen next? If J.D. Vance and 8 of these people signed a letter today saying the president is unable to discharge his duties, J.D. Vance would immediately become acting president. Would you like to know more about what happened?
There you go. So actually, you see that. So J.D. Vance and 8 of these people would have to say Trump is a hot mess and not able to serve and remove him. That's if it's coming out of the executive, right? Then I believe it's still got to go to Congress and they have to agree, or Trump can write some sort of rebuttal, and then, Congress got to make some sort of choice. But look, if he can't really write a rebuttal, I mean, Trump can't write. Can he write? Can Trump actually write? Does he have, writing skills? I mean, or does he, is this really Trump? The idea is that Trump wakes up and he's on Twitter at night, or he's on Truth at night. But is that really him, or is that just an assistant that he has, right? I'm assuming it's assistant. I'm assuming it's not really him. But in any case, let's go over to the news now. Now that we got that out of the way, I mean, I think it's very simple. I think it's countdown time. I think it's countdown time for removal of Trump. I think it's coming. I think these people are a hot mess too, which makes it more complicated to figure out. You know, he needs 8 people. This is like, you know, this is the list of the people he can choose from. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So he just needs a majority of the 8, as you see. So he only needs 8 of 15 to make that pop, J.D. Vance, right? If he wants to be the president. It appears to me like Mark Rubio and J.D. Vance don't really like each other. Some of the cabinet members, I'm very sure, don't like each other and have different interests because of how Trump kind of compiled his cabinet in the first place. It's all like self-interest people. And then they have to navigate what does it look like to the American people after, right? So these people and then you got the money people, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel. Obviously, they're not there, but they're going to be throwing their money around. You see what I mean? So it's going to be interesting to see how that turns out, unless Congress and the Senate just do the right thing and remove Trump, you know, and don't wait for the cabinet. Just do it themselves. Like, what the heck? I mean, the whole cabinet is a hot mess on top of that. So, I mean, what would the difference be? But in any case, I mean, why wouldn't they go about it like that? But in any case, let's get on over to the news and see what we got here. 2 seconds. Is this still up? Boom. Yeah, it's up. So let's go with it. Let's see what we got. Boom. Can this play?
Siri's dictation was driving me crazy. So I
Hold on. Can y'all see this? Let's see here. You know, and then of course there will always be some trolls that will lick Trump's nuts any day of the week, and you're always going to have that. But you know, they don't vote. Trolls don't vote. So there we go. Let's see here. Let me see. Now, where is this one at? 2 seconds. Let me just get this up. That's there, right? This is here. Here we go. Let's make this happen. Here we go. And let's check the mind state of all of the news in the world. Let's check the mind state. Maybe they're similar to mine. I don't know. Who knows? Or maybe they're similar to the Trump sycophants. Who knows? Let's try it. Let's see how that turns out.
Nicolas Maduro by U.S. forces. Venezuela's military has now said it recognizes Maduro's deputy, Delcy Rodriguez, as the country's acting leader. The defense minister, Vladimir Padrino, says the armed forces have been activated nationwide to defend Venezuela's sovereignty. He added that a large part of Maduro's security team were killed when U.S. Special Forces extracted the deposed leader from the capital, Caracas. And for more, I'm joined in the studio now by DW's Oscar Schlenker, who has been reporting from Venezuela for many years. Oscar, really great to see you. So we just heard that the military is standing firmly behind the interim leader, Rodriguez. Did you expect this?
Well, yeah, this was expected because they want to keep on the legitimacy of the regime. The regime continues without their head of state, which was Maduro as the leader of the Chavista government. And they want to keep that legitimacy going, so they have to go by the book. And the Constitution says that if the president cannot assume his duties, then it goes to the vice president. So that's part of following the book and going by the book, that they want to establish that they are a legitimate government. And that's why they're following these rules.
Well, Venezuelans have now had just about a day to absorb all of these developments, Maduro's removal, the strikes on Caracas. What have you been hearing from people inside the country? How are they coping with these developments?
Well, there's a lot of fear. Obviously, there's a lot of uncertainty, but Venezuelans are not strangers to uncertainty. We've had uncertainty for the past 20 years because we've had many crises that we've lived through. However, there are neighborhoods in Caracas that are still without electricity after more than 24 hours, and that is an issue that have many people worried. And in the rest of the country, well, people are expectant to see what's going to happen because the regime has not fallen. Maduro has been taken out of power and captured, and that has the country rattled. Some celebrating it quietly because there's still a lot of repression in Venezuela, and obviously his supporters mourning it.
Well, we heard Donald Trump say yesterday in his very lengthy press conference that the United States is going to run Venezuela until further notice. And at the same time, he said he would be willing to work together with the interim president, Rodriguez. What do you make of all of this?
Well, it's very worrisome for Venezuelans to think, well, how is Donald Trump and the United States going to run Venezuela, especially after we've seen how the Trump administration has treated Venezuelan migrants in these mass deportations in the last months. So there's a lot of mistrust in Trump. However, when we hear that he wants to cooperate with Delcy Rodriguez instead of Maria Corina Machado, who is the opposition leader that was bringing about change, and that because of her, we could celebrate these mass presidential elections in 2024, then that has brought a lot of concern over a lot of Venezuelans, as we've seen in social media and in different reports. So definitely there is a lot more questions than answers that Venezuelans are getting at this point, and it's becoming a little bit anxious for many.
Oscar, I want to ask you also about some of the other entrenched actors in Venezuela. There's many different groups and factions, many of whom I imagine are likely to resist any kind of meaningful change. What are you most worried about?
Well, yeah, that I'm most worried about, and I think the Trump administration is too, of a power void, because a power void would be catastrophic in Venezuela with all these factions that are.
Yeah, thanks, Carpe Diem. I got that change. I appreciate that.
Are armed, that are involved with international criminal organizations.
Oh, by the way, the chat is in subscriber mode, so all you got to do is subscribe, you know what I mean, and participate.
Including international, other international powers like China and Russia and Iran, that would become a power grab that is uncontrollable. And I think that's what many people are fearing, that a power void would result in chaos.
And which are the groups that you feel could do the most damage right now?
This is interesting right here. Now, this is some... This is German news right here, DW, I believe, right? Isn't that German news, or is that French news, DW? Let me get back here. And yeah. Oh yeah, Steve, I did, man. Steve, but it's good that you subscribe. You know what I mean? That's great. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, it's coming. You might think anything you want. I mean, you could think, did you imagine that that Biden will become president? Did you imagine that, you know, that, I mean, it's a lot of things people can't imagine that some folks do. So whether that's delusional, as you say, or whether that's just something you couldn't conceive of, that could also be the case, sir. So I hope you realize that. And also, I'm not really on Trump's nuts. You see what I mean? So, I mean, to me, when you say someone's delusional for suggesting that J.D. Vance and his cabinet members are all in it for themselves and are a hot mess, you think it's delusional, my response is that you must be on Trump's nuts or something. That's it. You can handle it. That's what it is, man. That's
I think the groups that are most vulnerable.
And good morning to you.
Or not most vulnerable, but more damaging, would be the ones in the border with Colombia, the guerrillas that have taken control of some areas of Venezuela.
Oh, there you go. You appreciate I appreciate it. Thank you very much. You know, there it is. I mean, and why don't we stop it? Think about who we're talking to. I mean, there's been a whole lot. I don't know how many episodes you've seen of my show, right? But there's been a whole lot that I have actually said before it's happened. There's always somebody saying that it's delusional. There hasn't been one time where someone has said anything that I have said is not delusional. There is always one. You see what I mean? That's just something you live with, man. But it's a good opportunity, because let's talk about it. Trump, a lot of people couldn't see Trump being president either, right? I couldn't see him. I couldn't see him being president myself. You know, I was delusional about that. You know what I'm saying? But once I see something happen, I adjust. Actually. You know what I mean? Because there's no point in carrying on and assuming that things are okay. You see what I mean? So you know, but I do think when, you know, that is my honest opinion about these folks. Like, very individualistic, very self-interest orientated, and I don't think that allows for a lot of cooperation. You know, I think they take pictures together, but I think personally it's all about saving face and stuff like that. Now, another thing that could happen is Trump could just do the right thing and step down himself. But I don't think he's the type to do that. I think he's too old. I think, again, narcissistic tendencies, wanting to save face, right? You see what I mean? Not being able to admit when he's wrong. Like think about this. You know, what's his name? Carpe Diem said, you know, that I made a spelling error on the title, you know. So if I was narcissistic, I would be like, no, I'm going to keep it the same. But I would just went in there, right, and changed it. But Trump, he doesn't have that in him. You've seen that displayed in his behavior constantly. I mean, the world has seen it displayed. So I don't think Trump is the type that's going to step down on his own, even if he's sick. And it's obvious the guy is not doing well. He's pretty old. He's at the age where most people end up dying. You know what I'm saying? It's men don't live as long as women. So, you know, I don't really know where, you know, I don't know. But of course, it's just a guess. It's my guess. You see what I mean? It's not something I know that's actually going to happen. But I think Trump, if he knows what's good for him, he will step down, or the others will remove him. But I think one of his last acts is going to be, if he's smart, he will pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, because I don't think anybody else wants to move. Now, think about it. This is the key thing. I don't think anyone else wants to move forward with the Epstein files in their shadow. See, that's the problem Trump is presented. So the longer J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio has to work with Trump while these Epstein files are being leaked, the more their image is tarnished too in front of the American people, right? And the less his ability, either one of theirs ability to follow up and govern once Trump is gone. That kind of messes it up for them. So I'm pretty sure there's something going on that's problematic right now in that White House, because they don't have any clear roads. Remember, the road out of this is to maintain something, right? After Trump. That would be the primary goal for Peter Thiel, for Elon Musk. Obviously, Peter Thiel is behind J.D. Vance, but he's not the strongest candidate, right? So he needs to show that he's a man himself. And, you know, how long do you have to defend Trump to do that? Then you have Marco Rubio, Musk, and them. They're not down with him, really. You see what I mean? I mean, he also doesn't have the confidence of the American people. So I don't know, but it's just my thoughts on this. I think they need a way out, and the easiest way to get out of this is by getting rid of Trump. You see what I mean? And so I just think it's happening, but we don't see it. And again, it's very complicated too, because J.D. Vance, if he did it himself, he would need 8 people to go along with him. But how do you do that with in this situation? How do you get 8 people? So I think it's just a guess, but I think what's taking long, or what could be complicated, is that part of it. Like, they might want to get rid of him, but they just can't get 8 people to step up. And think about this. Trump picks them to be followers. He picked all of them to be followers. None of them to stand up for themselves. None of them to push back against him. So finding that 8 people could be more complicated than a normal presidency might be. You know, for example, and I don't want to bring up anybody else, but you get the point. But anyway, let's hear more of this, because I like the EU news on this. It's kind of good, I think, for Americans to look at more of the EU coverage on this matter. because we always get like CNN, NBC, which are okay legacy. I mean, CNN is like, whatever, but MS is a little bit more, solid, I would say, than most of them. But here's some different perspective. So I'm gonna let this play again because I missed a few things that he said here. But I did want to entertain the chat a little bit. So, oh, you only watch international news? Okay, there you go. All right, so here, let's see here. But I'm not sure. Oh, Australian BBC. Okay, yeah. But let's see here. Let's play a little bit more of this and see what they said.
Because they want to keep on the legitimacy of the regime.
Yo, good morning to everybody. Also, or good night. Late night for those that are hearing that are listening in the late stroll.
The regime continues without their head of state, which was Maduro as the leader of the Chavista government. And they want to keep that legitimacy going, so they have to go by the book. And the Constitution says that if the president cannot assume his duties, then it goes to the vice president. So that's part of following the book.
So that's a good point right there. I mean, they're following the book. If they believe in the Constitution, which it sounds like they do, right? Sounds like they do believe in the Constitution, and it sounds like pretty much, I mean, I think they do. I'm going to be honest with you. I think they do, and I think they believe in the Constitution, but not just the Constitution, but I think they believe in their party. I'm going to be honest, I think they actually believe in their party, in their party's movement. I don't think they're, there might be elements there that other Venezuelans, people that live in Venezuela, can call them out on. And I'm not saying any of those things are wrong either, but just judging from afar and not being a Venezuelan, living outside of Venezuela, to me it seems like that party is a real party. Now, maybe the issue is Maduro more so. He came in after Chavez, and different. No matter if you're in the same party, different leaders are different. They're not just always the same. They don't all. They're not all satisfactory to everyone. They're just individuals, right? So it seems to me like maybe, they trust Maduro because he was number two. He was Chavez's number two. And I've been in a lot of organizations, and in a lot of organizations, it doesn't matter if you're dealing with the government, if you're dealing with, NGOs, it doesn't matter. A lot of times rank and file, political parties, it doesn't matter if you're dealing with political parties. A lot of times rank and file means something because you don't know what that number two did to hold down the number one. You don't know how much work. I'm sure Maduro couldn't be number two under Chavez. Was he number two, by the way? Check that out. I'm assuming he was. I'm pretty sure it was. But you can't be number two if you're not putting in some real actual work on the ground. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm pretty sure. And I think, so I think that, they believe in the party. So they're following the law or following the outlines of the party, the Constitution, and their party rules and things like that. So government rules. So I just think there's nothing else for them to do. Trump made this move. What else do you do? What else do you do? I mean, I think Trump has gone outside of the norms. He's the one that's gone outside of the norms. And at this point, he's taken an action. He's not Venezuelan. Marco Rubio's not Venezuelan. They don't live in Venezuela. They don't swear to the Constitution of Venezuela, Marco Rubio or Trump or J.D. Vance or any of them. There's no Marine. There's no one that was involved for the U.S. Going in and removing him that swears to the Venezuelan Constitution or the Venezuelan people. I mean, I think this is complex when you go into somebody else's country. So, yeah, to me, it seems like they don't really have to do much but wait for people to come to them. I mean, they are the government. Trump has already stated publicly he's not going to work with anyone else. That would have been the inroad, working with the opposition would have been somewhat of an inroad, right? Or it would have been another position. But Trump took the position of, we going to do it. The U.S. is going to handle it. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah, no doubt. You appreciate the convo too, man. No worries. I hope you stay up, stay up. Don't go anywhere, all right? But That was Steve Dubs, by the way. Yeah. But yeah, this is insane. This is insane.
And going
that
by
we're
the book
talking
that
about
they
this.
want to establish that they are a legitimate government, and that's why they're following these rules.
Well, Venezuelans have now had just about a day to absorb all of these developments, Maduro's removal, the strikes in Caracas. What have you been hearing from people inside the country? How are they coping with these developments?
Well, there's a lot of fear. Obviously, there's a lot of uncertainty, but Venezuelans are not strangers to uncertainty. We've had uncertainty for the past 20 years because we've had many crises that we've lived through. However, there are neighborhoods in Caracas that are still without electricity after more than 24 hours, and that is an issue that have many people worried. And in the rest of the country, well, people are expectant to see what's going to happen because the regime has not fallen. Maduro has been taken out of power and captured, and that is has the country rattled. Some celebrating it quietly because there's still a lot of repression in Venezuela, and obviously his supporters mourning it.
Well,
Okay, so he's saying, he's Venezuelan. Oscar's Venezuelan, obviously. So, I mean, that has to be noted. My opinion personally, I'm not Venezuelan. So I don't really see why my voice would matter more than a Venezuelan's voice, particularly. You see what I mean? So I'm not a Venezuelan, and I've never been to Venezuela. You know what I mean? And, but he's saying that, yeah, there is repression from this regime, and there has been repression, and he's not the first one to state it. It's been stated plenty of times, and there's been a sense, an idea out there that Venezuela hasn't been the most democratic nation upholding democratic values in terms of free and fair elections for some time. Especially, they accused Chavez of this a couple of times, I believe. Although it seems to me like Chavez was a little more popular than Maduro. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's But as I remember it, Chavez was a little more popular than Maduro. But maybe it's expanded, this repression under Maduro. You could say maybe it was just a natural progression from one leader of the same party taking over. The number two taking over. Maybe that's what happens in that type of situation. But But in any case, we're here now, and it's obvious that Maduro didn't do what would lift the country up 100%. And these are dynamics. Don't get me wrong. I think there is an element of interference all the time that you got to deal with when you're a nation that's on the rise, right? When you're a nation, let's say you're not a superpower, right? And you are gradually moving into a different phase. The country, you're dealing with infrastructure issues and things like this. There's always this element of outside interference. So I appreciate that idea also, but you need to have leadership that can navigate this, because that's not going away. And that's part of taking power. That's part of being a leader, knowing how to navigate these outside forces. And it doesn't matter if the outside force is, let's say, USA. It doesn't matter if although that's an outside force that's pretty close to you, that could really do harm if it intends to, right, at all. And but then there's other outside voices. There's China, there's Russia, and there's many more. You know what I mean? And having to navigate the geopolitical sphere is not easy, for smaller nations that are not, well, I won't say smaller, but nations that just aren't superpowers. That's not easy. You can't always just chart your own route and have success if people aren't willing to work with you, so yeah. But in any case, that it's not only Venezuela in that situation, but Venezuela happens to be one that is, So.
We heard Donald Trump say yesterday in his very lengthy press conference that the United States is going to run Venezuela until further notice. And at the same time, he said he would be willing to work together with the interim president, Rodriguez. What do you make of all of this?
Well, it's very worrisome for Venezuelans to think, well, how is Donald Trump and the United States going to run Venezuela, especially after we've seen how the Trump administration has treated Venezuelan migrants in these mass deportations in the last months.
Right. How do you navigate all the bad things that you said about the migrants? They're murderers, they're killers, they're raping our children, they're raping our women. That's what he said about people that weren't doing anything. You know what I'm saying? And to group everybody up into the criminal box and then just mass deport them is foul. It's foul. Again, you know, that they didn't care. ICE in this administration did not care to acknowledge that there are also good Venezuelans in the United States of America. They just said, if your grandmother is working a cleaning job, scrubbing a toilet, she's also with the axe murderers and killers. Get her ass out of here too. And that's how Trump talked about all Venezuelans. And now he's talking about he want to run their country. That's not too smart. I don't see how you going to get a okay that way. Like, what the fuck? You know, it's like he doesn't even remember. And again, this goes into the thing about dementia. Does he even remember how he talked about these people? Does he remember how what's her name, the Homeland Security person talked about these people? They made it a point to, no matter what people said, hey, some of these people are decent people. Hey, a lot of these people are working hard jobs. Hey, a lot of these people have been living in the country 20 years and have no criminal record. Hey, no matter what appeal was made to them, they made it a point to always refer to them as axe murderers, rapists, and killers. Now look, now they want to run their country. That's strange, ain't it? Is that going to go down in America? Doesn't that sound familiar? Like, you know, isn't that what happened to Native Americans too? Wasn't that part of that campaign, you know, demonizing them, calling them savages, doing all of this? And then, you know, now we want to run it. I'm just saying, I don't think this is how you go about it. And, you know, it's really just taking the world on a ride. You know, do we have to see this in 2025? Is this 2026? Is this how we stepping into 2026? Like demonizing people and then saying we want to run their land after we demonize them? I mean, is this how it's going to go down?
So there's a lot of mistrust in Trump. However, when we hear that he wants to cooperate with Delcy Rodriguez instead of Maria Corina Machado, who is the opposition leader that was bringing about change, and that because of her, we could celebrate these mass presidential elections in 2024, then that has brought a lot of concern over a lot of Venezuelans, as we've seen in social media and in different reports. So definitely there is a lot more questions than answers that Venezuelans are getting at this point, and it's becoming a little bit anxious for many.
Oscar, I want to ask you also about some of the other entrenched.
I mean, if you were the Venezuelan government, now this is going a little off, and again, I'm not the chooser of who Venezuelans decide are good or bad. That's not my choice. That's not my, I don't even, you know, have the ability to be honest with you. But I see Flowers says they have been under dictatorship for 25 years. Chavez was a lunatic, but there's still food then. Yeah, and there's I mean, there's people that didn't like Chavez too, obviously, right? But you know, this kind of dynamic where you say your government and you listen to what Trump thinks. If I was any Venezuelan government, think about this. I wouldn't take anything he says on the microphone to mean shit. Because think about this. People have already done that. The opposition thought they were listening to Trump. They were like, okay, yeah. And they not even going to get they're not even in pocket. So if I was anybody in Venezuela, I'm just saying how my brain works, whether I'm regardless of whose party you with, I would not take projection from Trump. You see what I mean? I would not take his words over the microphone to mean he really wants to work with you. Let's just use that example. I would take it as possible deception also, like straight up. Like, I mean, can you trust anything from Trump? I mean, doesn't he flip-flop from day to next according to what his own personal interests are? Can he be believed? I mean, so if I was a Venezuelan, particularly if I was this regime, I wouldn't be thinking that he wants to work with me, even if he said he wanted to work with me. I would be like, okay, but you could kill me at any time and take this country and take it from all of us. So sorry, I can't afford to believe you. You know what I'm saying? That's what I would be thinking, but let's see how that goes.
Actors
What's up, 45?
in Venezuela, there's many different groups and factions, many of whom I imagine are likely to resist any kind of meaningful change. What are you most worried about?
Well, yeah, I'm most worried about, and I think the Trump administration is too, of a power void, because a power void would be catastrophic in Venezuela with all these factions that are armed, that are involved with.
But listen, is that what they really want? Think about this. Think about this. Is that what the point is in the first place? A power vacuum? Because you got to understand, Trump, as much as he complains about immigrants, it doesn't seem like he wants to do things to help people stay and have a decent life in the country. It seems like what he ultimately wants is colonialism, right? By his behavior. And just judging by his behavior, it's just my view of his behavior, right? I don't think, and if you think about this, if there's a power vacuum, what does that do? Power vacuum gets a lot of people killed. You reduce the population, right? Power vacuum, allows other people to come in and sweep up the goods, right? I mean, to me, I don't see why a power vacuum is not at play here for Trump, like what his goal would be. I wouldn't see it that way. You see what I mean? Because these are people that are up to this kind of shit. Look at Elon Musk. Elon Musk needs he is a man that wants to own the world, and he needs he needs resources for his next project. How many people get killed? I mean, these dudes are out here putting up the Heil Hitler sign. That automatically means you want to kill Venezuelans of all types. You see what I mean? Many. Automatically. You see what I mean? So if I was a Venezuelan, I'm just telling you my opinion. If I was a Venezuelan, I would be reaching out my arms to other Venezuelans. I would be willing to make concessions with other Venezuelans, political parties. I would recognize the threat that you can all be taken out on this ride. So you have to decide who you're going to stand up for and what you're going to stand up against. And you need to treat each other fairly. And if there was any elements of repression in the country against other Venezuelans, stop the shit, because you may not survive this bad boy. You may not survive this roller coaster, because you are dealing with Trump, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, and they need resources. They need shit in the ground. They need it. That's what they want. In human life, they don't give a goddamn about human life. Like, you have to understand that. So if I was a Venezuelan from any political party, from any group, I would be like, let's let bygones be bygones and let's set a new course for Venezuela. And it really is going to have to come down to votes. That's what I would say. And we're going to have to respect the votes. The military is going to have to respect the votes. The people in the parties are going to have to respect the votes. And by the way, you should want people from different parties in every government that you form. That's not a bad thing. That helps balance things. You see what I'm saying? That helps balance your and also give a clear, balanced direction, a course that allows you to plot a course when you have different people from different parties in one government. You see what I mean? Like, that's a good reflection that you're reaching out to each other, because I'm telling you, I mean, don't sleep on the fact that maybe they don't want your ass alive. Maybe they want a power vacuum to have people killing each other. I'm just saying. I don't want to spend too much time on that point, but yeah, let me go on here. What's up, 45? Let me see. 45 says, just like when a company bought out and they steal people's pension. Exactly. And bankrupt. Exactly. That's what I'm saying, man. Exactly. Like, a whole lot is at play here. So
what are you most worried about?
Well, yeah, that I'm most worried about, and I think the Trump administration is too, of a power void, because a power void would be catastrophic in Venezuela with all these factions that are armed, that are involved with international criminal organizations.
I mean, remember, Trump came into with this chaos theory type of shit. Just remember that. He came into power with this chaos thing, you know, tear down just to build, you know, destroy and build. So I wouldn't, he's speculating there when he says, I think the Trump administration, the operative word is think. He doesn't know. And I'm telling you, as an American, I don't think you can really trust Trump's words, because even if you go on what he thinks can change instantly. And it's usually based on his own greed. It's never based on the goodwill of humanity. Like, it's never based on, it's always based on what can you get. I mean, look at who he said can run the country. Goddamn Mark Rubio and the same people in his cabinet. If that's not a sign of what he thinks about you, I don't know what is. I don't know what is.
Including international, other international powers like China and Russia and Iran, that would become a power grab.
Don't trust China and Russia either. Why would you trust them? Why would you trust them? They've seen a lot of people kill each other, China and Russia. Yeah, China and Russia have given a lot of motherfucking weapons to people that just go out and get someone who's just like them dead just because they're on the other side of the political spectrum in a country. You see what I mean? One country is selling weapons to one political group, then let's say the U.S. is selling weapons to one political group, and then China, Russia is selling weapons to another political group in the country, and these two political groups kill off all the fucking people and create chaos. So who's going to take over? Who's going to take over after all the chaos sets in? Some superpower is going to take over. So I don't know where Earth people have been living on, but the one I've been living on, I've seen that happen a whole lot, you know. So, again, if I was a Venezuelan, I would be cautious of any type of going against other Venezuelans. Proxy war, exactly. I would avoid proxy war, and I would not be trusting China, Russia, or the United States. These are the countries that get people into fucking war. You see what I mean? Like, really, because they don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that every superpower doesn't have their own excuse that they use. Some will say it's anti-imperialism that we support. Others will say it's democracy that we support. But what really matters on the ground is what happens, you know, after. What's the after effect? Not just what you're fighting for, but what actually really happens later, after all these people are dead. You see what I mean? And keep in mind, the people that you're going to be killing are specifically your own people, even if you share a different political view. That's who you will be killing. You won't be killing no Chinese. You won't be killing no Americans. You won't be killing no Russians. You will be killing your own people in proxy war. You see what I mean? So, yeah.
It's uncontrollable.
Or killing people very much like you. I mean, could this, Eric, you know something? Could this be like what they want, like proxy war in South America? You see what I'm saying? Could that be what Trump is really up for? Because look, if there's proxy war in South America, China, Russia, USA, they all get paid. A lot of people going to get paid some good money, not in risk of any danger. They just going to reap the rewards, all reward. No problem then. Then they get to call you immigrants, you know. Then they get to come and help you again. Oh, you need to come to my country to go to school. Oh, you need to come to my country to get this. Yeah, see, we helping you again. I mean, really, I'm just saying.
controllable. And I think that's what many people are fearing, that a power void would result in chaos.
And which are the groups that you feel could do the most damage right now?
I think the groups that are most vulnerable, or not most vulnerable, but more damaging, would be the ones in the border with Colombia, the guerrillas that have taken control of some areas of Venezuela and have taken control of industries like the illegal mining.
So many different players, such a complex situation.
Yes, and who is helping funding that illegal mining? Who is bagging the resources for that illegal mining? Where those minerals going to? What companies are they going to? Don't be so fast to say they're going to American companies. Don't be so fast to know. Why don't we just look it up? Let me look it up. I'm just curious here. Let me look this bad boy up, because I don't like to assume. Everybody assumes sometimes, but goddamn, if that's what you're doing all the time, you're going to be in a disaster. So, who is behind the illegal mining in Venezuela near the border of Colombia? I hate to even say it that way, etc. What nations, companies? Let's see here. I'm just curious. I want to look this up while we here. Thanks for joining me and joining the little ride this morning. It's 09:38 Central European Time. That would make it 3:38 Eastern Standard Time USA, and that would make it what is it? That's going to make it what? 12:39 Pacific Time. Is that right? I'm waiting for bits, so I don't really. It's early here too, so. But in any case, let's see here. And Tia, where you at? Big up to Tia. Let's see here. Here we go. Let's see what it says here.
Illegal mining in Venezuela, particularly along the borders with Colombia and Brazil, is a complex gray market operation. It is not run by standard, transparent multinational corporations, but rather by a network of guerrilla groups, transnational gangs, and Venezuelan military elites. Here is a breakdown of who is currently behind these operations. 1. Armed groups and guerrillas. The most powerful actors on the ground are Colombian guerrilla groups that have established permanent bases in Venezuela. They control the territory, the mining equipment, and the labor force. ELN, National Liberation Army. This Colombian group is the dominant force in the Venezuelan states of Amazonas and Bolívar. They provide protection for mines in exchange for a significant cut of the gold. FARC dissidents, Segunda Marquetalia, factions of the former FARC that did not sign the 2016 peace treaty operate heavily near the Colombian border, using mining to fund their operations. Tren de Aragua, Venezuela's most powerful homegrown mega gang, has expanded into the mining regions, the Arco Minero, where they run protection rackets and control the smuggling of minerals out of the country. 2. The Venezuelan state and military. Rather than stopping the mining, the Venezuelan government often regulates it for its own benefit. The Arco Minero, Orinoco Mining Arc, in 2016, President Maduro designated a massive area of the country, about 12% of the territory, for mining. While intended to attract legal investment, it has become a lawless zone. FANB, National Bolivarian Armed Forces. High-ranking military officials are reportedly the silent partners in many illegal mines. They often charge a tax or bribe to allow the guerrillas and gangs to operate, or in some cases, run their own pits directly. Minervan, this is the state-run mining company. However, it has been sanctioned by the U.S. and others for being used as a front to launder blood gold into the official state coffers. 3. Involved nations and companies. Because the mining is illegal and sanctioned, you won't find major Western companies, like those from the US or Canada, operating there. Instead, the gold is moved through opaque supply chains involving shell companies, front companies in Turkey, the UAE, United Arab Emirates, and Iran have been identified by international investigators as the primary buyers and processors of Venezuelan gold. Brazilian criminal networks, groups like the PCC, First Capital Command, work with Venezuelan gangs to smuggle gold across the southern border into Brazil, where it is laundered with fake paperwork to look like legally mined Brazilian gold. Italian and Indian refineries, investigations, such as the 2025 Flygold case, have tracked gold from these illegal pits to refineries in Italy and India, which then sell the purified gold to global tech and jewelry companies who may not know the gold's true origin. 4. Impact on indigenous communities. The mining is devastating to the local Yanomami and Pemon indigenous people. Armed groups often invade their ancestral lands, contaminate their water with mercury, and press gang their youth into forced labor. Summary table: the who's who, role, group, entity, on the ground control.
So we got a little background on that. And of course, obviously you need to check it out for yourself. Don't trust what I'm saying to be holier than, thou, but consider what you're hearing. How about that? And consider it in terms of any way that you would consider anything else holy. You see what I mean? You balance it out. You do the research. You find out what checks out step by step. Check here, cross there. Check here, cross there, And after all, that's what I would do. I'm just giving you the thoughts of what I would actually do in that situation. And, because the devil is in the detail. Well, the devil is in the detail, and, lives are at stake. And when we go to media, obviously you could see there's a lot of details that don't make it in there, for whatever reason. But, there's a lot of different reasons. But the overall issue is that there's a lot of info that's not going to get in there. And that would be problematic to anybody that is, concerned about a certain topic. Right. But let's go back and see what else Oscar is saying here. I can tell by Slinker, Oscar Slinker. I don't know what kind of last name that is. I wouldn't be surprised if that's not a German last name. Maybe Oscar is a, Venezuelan German also, like, maybe has multi-ethnic background. So I'm curious about that, but correct me if I'm wrong. But in any case, let's hear some more.
Situation unfolding in Venezuela. Oscar, many thanks indeed for all of your insights. That was DW's Oscar Schlenker. Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
We can now speak to Phil Gunson. He's a senior analyst at Crisis Group, and he joins us from Caracas. Welcome to DW. How do you interpret the statement that we heard from the Venezuelan armed forces?
Oh, really? Yeah, I see that message you left, Eric, about the AI and the. Listen, I pretty much only use AI. I'm getting off topic here. I pretty much use AI. This is what I use AI for, right? I got a program, a lot of people that use Blackmagic, DaVinci, Resolve use AI, right? Because AI is built into the platform for certain graphics, right? But generally speaking, in communications, and in, in art in general, fine arts, I would always tell people learn the process by hand first, or make sure you have a strong understanding and real practical understanding of the arts by hand, by the base craft, before you get involved with any type of extra tools like AI, because you're still going to need all those real base fundamentals and theoreticals before you do something. Otherwise, you're just going to have a bunch of gibberish anyway, even if you're using AI. But for me, I use AI like on this program. I just use it as the chat helper. Just go to the sources. As long as they bringing me the sources and show the sources and the sources are credible, that's what I go to. So I just use it as a fast Google, basically. You know what I mean? I don't use it for anything else, but pretty much that's the only reason why I do it, so things go along swiftly and I get whatever information is out there on a particular topic using certain sources. But you still got to use your brain. You still have to look through the information yourself, and you still got to keep an eye out for things that don't make sense, that just don't add up, right? Because sometimes AI can make mistakes. It can miss information. It just is that way, and you got to keep that in mind. But a good way to challenge that, if you think AI or anybody is missing information, is not to just say, I don't believe you, or, nah, that's AI. No, don't do that. Point out your sources. put your sources to the test, right? Let people know who your sources are. So people have an idea like what you actually are claiming your sources are, match your sources up and let's see what's happening. You know what I mean? But a lot of times AI is going to go to the most solid sources. I mean, not all the time. I don't know what program you're using. I mean, I only use ChatGPT and Gemini. Today I've been using Gemini a little bit, but before I was using ChatGPT. So I kind of flip between those two, right? Because one is Google and the other one uses Google too. And then, so I mean, come on, but in any case, all that other shit, I'm not with AI on. I don't want robots running every goddamn thing. I don't want robots making the decisions for nothing. I don't want robots working in my goddamn McDonald's. I want a human being that's going to take responsibility for the things I do. I'm not buying a car from a goddamn robot. You know what I'm saying? I'm not doing that, yo. That would be wrong. That would be an abdication of humans. You know what I'm saying? That would just be like, come on, what are humans here for? What is our job? You know what I mean? How are we going to get along in this place? And I'm sorry, robots may not be inclined to want to preserve our life as much as we should be. That's all I'm saying, but let's.
Well, I think
continue.
it's a sign that essentially, if you like, the dictator has gone, but the dictatorship is still in power.
Okay, we're just talking about Venezuela here for folks that's just chiming in. Just wanted to let you know.
And they are consolidating the situation. They are basically lining up behind Delcy Rodriguez because it's in everybody's interest, on their part at least, that the regime retake. This will be the recipe as before, simply minus Maduro.
There's, of course, a lot of concern.
What do y'all think about that? I mean, what do you think about that? The fact that the idea is that things move on the same way as they were, it's just minus Maduro. What do y'all think about that? Is that plausible? Like, is that really workable? Is that, what's that about? What's that about? I mean, how do you do that? Like, I don't understand what that is about. That seems to follow no known. There doesn't seem to be any explanation for it. Is the explanation that regime's control over the country is so large that if you just simply remove them from the processes, that would create chaos? Is it that this regime is fixed in the military and that you can't remove the regime and hand it over to another, that swiftly without it just being a shell, the same regime being a shell anyway? Like, I'm thinking maybe that might be what it is. And I'm not trying to give points to Trump or anything like that, but is that the case? Like, they just don't want it to go into total chaos, so they can't remove the regime. Is that what you think is going on here? Let me know your thoughts. But in any case, let's continue to hear more
About instability in Venezuela in the coming days and weeks. What do you see as the biggest risk there right now?
Well, I think the biggest risk has always been that the army would split, in the sense that if that were to happen, then of course there is a possibility of something approaching civil war, at least short-term, significant violent unrest. That doesn't seem to be the case right now. The opposition, of course, is more or less demobilized. There's been nobody on the streets, certainly nobody has been celebrating. And the other element of this that, of course, is...
You hear what he said? The opposition has been immobilized. There's nobody on the street celebrating, like, because out of dissent, fear of dissent, I guess, but yeah, because that's a big moment. You don't want to be the opposition and then somebody outside comes and takes your opposition's leader out of the country, and then you just running in the streets. Yay! That's going to make you a dead target, a target. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do they expect to happen? I mean, they're waiting to see what's going to happen next, the opposition. But again, if I was Venezuelans, I would be trying to make sure the government is representative of all parties, like straight up. That, in my mind, that's the easiest way to do it. And I'm not trying to brag about Denmark's government, right? But if you look at a country like Denmark, listen, how many political parties do you think Denmark has? Like major ones, right? Let me see here. Look, how many political parties does Denmark have that bring out the vote, meaning significant numbers, right? Let's see here. In Denmark, there are currently 12 major political parties that have representation in Danish parliament. You see what I'm saying? Yes. And actively bring out the vote in national elections. Denmark uses multi-party system where no single party usually wins an outright majority. So these parties must form coalition government. And, that's something that I would say would be a good idea. Like if you don't have 12 parties, major parties, for example, and when you have to form a government and you always need to work with other parties to form the government after maybe you got the most votes, that brings more compromise. You see what I mean? And compromise is good for the country, for the stability of a country. You see what I mean? And I think Venezuelans, maybe they don't have 12 parties right now, but you can do that in other ways to compensate since you don't have 12 parties, and also the U.S. since you don't have 12 parties, right? What you could do is just make sure that when your government takes power, that you're including people from the other parties and with certain roles with some things. You see what I mean? Like, look at how Obama had Republicans in his cabinet, didn't he? Yeah. Right. In government, it's not supposed to be a party government. It's supposed to be people that are, even if they vote, that they're not partisan party people, that when they get assigned to roles, they're just doing their duty according to the book. And it's not party philosophy. You know what I'm saying? And it just seems to me like, you would want to, in order to have stability, you want to not just do it superficially, but do it really. Like make sure that the other party understands you are welcome in government too and working in government too. Like now that the election is over, it goes back to jobs. We need roles fulfilled in government, not in party. Once you win an election, you're not supposed to be doing party business anymore, unless it's the things that, I'll put it to you this way. Unless you ask Congress, like Congress, you got the majority in Congress, you won the majority votes. This is, if it's done from the ground up, that's one thing. But when you're using the executive branch to appoint people based on party, I don't think that's necessarily the wisest thing. The fewer parties you have, the more toxic it becomes, the politics, and I guess that's the easy way to say it.
Now, the opposition, of course, is more or less demobilized. There's been nobody on the streets, certainly nobody has been celebrating. And the other element of this that, of course...
Yeah, it's the same regime. There's no regime change. It's the same regime. Exactly. It's really weird what's going on there. It's different. Hey, what's up, Sherry?
Is worrying is that whereas it's always been presented that Maduro would leave and there would be a smooth or relatively smooth transition to a more democratic situation, in effect, Trump seems to be saying, well, we can do business with the people who are left, and that the real problem was Maduro.
You mentioned that there haven't been people celebrating on the streets. It's been now about a day since Maduro was captured, and Venezuelans have, of course, been processing all of what's just occurred. How would you describe the mood on the streets today in Caracas?
It's very quiet. It's been quiet, as you.
I think what it is like Trump's a bully, and he's into that. Like, remove one individual, and then the best way to defeat people is to get the next one, the number 2 person, to go along with you. That kind of defeats things. But in this case, the number 2 person say, "We don't want to fucking work with you." But listen, and it's also easy. I think Trump, he went for the easiest thing. Obviously, they want to be fast. They want to do things fast. I think that symbolizes, to me, it symbolizes that, Trump wants to do things fast. He doesn't want to rewrite the book. He doesn't want to do all that. He wants something else, and he wants to do it as quick as possible. So setting up a new government may not be the fastest thing. And a new government will want all the concessions. They will want concessions. They will want things for think about what all these folks were talking about. They say that the regime was repressive. But Trump, he's not against repression. You see what I mean? He never been against repression of people. He's not even against it in his own country. You know what I'm saying? So that's just weird. It's so
I
strange.
imagine it was extremely quiet yesterday because people were very scared to go out on the streets, not just because they didn't know what else might.
Okay, so sorry. So that is one DW News. I can see they having some internet issues there. But let me just get through the next little ditty here.
Ousted President Nicolas Maduro is expected to appear at a New York City court on Monday to face drug and weapons charges.
Monday, that's today, y'all, by the way. Happy Monday. Let's see how it goes.
The U.S. military seized Maduro and his wife in an operation early on Saturday morning in Caracas. The White House is now ramping up pressure on Venezuela's interim leader, Delcy Rodriguez, after initially saying the U.S. would run the country for an unspecified
Yeah, it is like mob boss style what Trump is doing.
period.
The U.S. military strikes damaged several buildings, including this apartment complex in the Venezuelan coastal state of La Guaira, just north of the capital, Caracas, where special forces captured Nicolas Maduro and his wife. Wilman Gonzalez lost his aunt in the attacks.
We were sleeping, and I imagine the projectile passed through here. It fell on top of my aunt. We took her alive to the hospital, and they gave her oxygen, but there was nothing they could do.
Gonzalez says he almost lost an eye and had to get stitches. His neighbor, Robinson Dominguez, says the blasts were frightening, but he's hopeful good will come out of all of this.
I think that after these ashes, something great will come, something prettier, a Venezuela with a new awakening.
Nicolas Maduro arrived in New York shackled and under heavy guard. The deposed Venezuelan leader is facing various federal charges in the U.S., including narco-terrorism, conspiracy to import cocaine, and possession of machine guns. He wishes officers with the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency...
What the fuck? This dude is a leader of a country. What is this possession of machine guns charges, man? What the fuck? Isn't he? I don't understand how you do that. Like, the dude is with the military. He's with them. How are they gonna, what does this do? I don't get it. I mean, is that the charge? Is that actually a real charge? Possession of machine guns? How did they do? What do you do that? Where did they get the machine gun? Well, I thought he was with the military at the time this happened, not his own residence. But let me just go into that.
Agency. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Before he and his wife are taken to the Brooklyn detention facility where they will await trial. After more than a decade imposing his repressive rule on Venezuela, Maduro was sworn in for a third term earlier this year, after an election he was widely accused of stealing. And while Maduro may be gone, his government remains in power, and so does Venezuela's military. In a televised address, it qualified his capture as a kidnapping and demanded his return, warning others,
if today it was against Venezuela, tomorrow it could be against any state or any country.
Venezuela's Vice President, Delcy Rodriguez, also struck a defiant tone after she was sworn in as interim president, saying Maduro remains the only true leader of Venezuela. In an interview with a U.S. magazine, Donald Trump said she had better fall in line and help the U.S. run Venezuela and its oil deposits, saying if she doesn't do what's right, she's going to pay a very big price, probably bigger than...
So Trump is threatening her now. Okay, let me just bring that back a little bit.
After she was sworn in as interim president, saying Maduro remains the only true leader of Venezuela. In an interview with a U.S. magazine, Donald Trump said she had better fall in line and help the U.S. run Venezuela and its oil deposits, saying if she doesn't do what's right, she's going to pay a very big price, probably bigger than Maduro.
Listen, I'm sorry, but no Venezuelan should want to hear this kind of talk. Look, you can't win if you accept this, even for your opposition. Like, you can't win as an opposition party if you accept, even your opposition being spoken to this way. You see what I'm saying? Like, the way he is talking is like, basically, none of you are anything. Like, that's what I get out of the tone he's using, and the words he's using. Like, that is like, that's not good for anybody. You see what I mean? And that is just like, that is just weird. That's weird. Let me just, and where did they make Dominion machines? And who? Yeah, that's a good question. Is that the machines that we're using, Eric, in the elections? Let me see here. Let me just hear Trump's tone.
With a U.S. magazine, Donald Trump said she had better fall in line and help the U.S. run Venezuela and its oil deposits, saying if she doesn't do what's right, she's going to pay a very big price. Probably.
This is an open threat. This is an open threat. And listen, I'm just telling you, you cannot win even an opposition party to her. This is the woman, the vice president. If you are the opposition party to this vice president, how do you win by working with Trump to help them do anything to her? Because he's just going to turn around and take the same tone with you. That's crazy.
Only true leader of Venezuela. In an interview with a U.S. magazine, Donald Trump said she had better fall in line and help the U.S. run Venezuela and its oil deposits, saying if she doesn't do what's right, she's going to pay a very big price.
Andy, what's up?
Probably bigger than Maduro. With Venezuela, Trump has shown he's prepared to follow through on his threats. People here hope the current situation doesn't escalate again beyond a war of words.
And let's bring in Phil Gunson. He is a senior analyst at the International Crisis Group in Caracas. Phil, it's good to have you with us. Now, the vice president officially succeeding Maduro, the military getting behind her. Delcy Rodriguez is actually a Maduro loyalist. So what will change, if at all?
That's one of the big questions.
All right, this is the same guy, and they have a lot of disturbance here on the but it's important to hear him because he's in Caracas, and actually he's I guess the top. This is the person you want to talk to in terms of on the ground anthropology, knowledge of the government, the people, society, this kind of stuff. So let's hear this. Let's try to listen through it.
Of course, Delcy Rodriguez is politically totally aligned with Maduro. She has been part of the upper echelons of the regime for a very long time. And everything else in the country, or the institutions, everything, the entire structure of government remains exactly the same. The only person missing, of course, is President Maduro himself. Now, President Trump says that won't matter because from now on, the United States is going to be calling the shots. And if the Venezuelan government doesn't do as it's told, then there will be consequences.
I'm just wondering, though, what's the biggest risk for instability in the country right now?
The biggest fear that we've always had is that, ironically, that the United States might succeed in its aim of splitting the Venezuelan armed forces in such a way that part of the armed forces would rebel against Maduro and throw him out. It doesn't look as if that's going to happen at the moment. The reason why we were fearful of that outcome is because that could, under certain circumstances, trigger beginnings of a civil war, some kind of a possibly protracted low-intensity warfare within the country. And I think that's one of the reasons why the US pulled back from its insistence on removing the whole government and went just for kidnapping the president and taking him off as they see it to face justice.
So we're seeing a bit of consensus with the military, but what about the general public? We've seen thousands attended a march.
It sounds like he's saying Trump did that on purpose. Yeah, like a mob boss, like we were saying. It sounds like, you know, maybe there is some kind of reason to the rhyme, like that, you know, you make the party that essentially is part of the trouble do all the work to clean up. And I don't know. And then what? You have an election, or then what? I mean, but I think the language is problematic. I'm sorry, because once you accept a person that is just bullying a Venezuelan, anybody, it seems like you could expect more, regardless of who you are. You see what I mean? And I'm just not, I think this is not the right way to go about it. I think it's just very simple. We went in, there's only so much say you have in another country's affairs. There's only so much responsibility you have in another country's affairs. We're not the boss of Venezuelans. We don't have any say. And again, it goes back to that question that Marco Rubio was asked yesterday by, what's the guy's name? Stephanopoulos, right? He was asked 3 times. As a matter of fact, let me just go back to that so you could see what this dude was saying. He was asked 3 damn times. Marco Rubio was asked 3 damn times. What is the legitimate role? Like, what is the legitimate reason? What is our legal mean? What was the question? It was something to the legality of us being here, right? And Marco Rubio, he couldn't answer that shit one time. He couldn't answer it at all. Look, Stephanopoulos asked him, whatever his name is. Stephanopoulos? I don't know. I'm sorry, man. Well, let me see. What is his name? I forget his name, but he asked them 3 times.
State Marco Rubio, Mr. Secretary, thank you for joining us this morning. President Trump was pretty clear yesterday. He said the United States is going to run Venezuela. Under what legal authority?
Yeah, he was asked 3 times, under what legal authority? And he couldn't answer the damn question. And again, you're not responsible for Venezuelans. We're not responsible for Venezuela, the country. And no one else would be more responsible than a Venezuelan ever. There's no one else that wants Venezuela to succeed more than Venezuelans. It's just that simple. There's nothing else to it. And it's like, so to me, it just seems like you bothered to step in, you bothered to remove the leader, even if the leader was bad. How much of a threat was he posing to others outside, right? And even if you believe he was posing a threat, you've removed him now. Now, why are you continuing to want to be responsible? I don't get it. And sure, you could do the right thing and say, now, military, please phase out the your political operatives and allow the new government to come in, and generals have to be assigned, new people from the other party have to be assigned to rank and file in the military and things like this. But I mean, he's not even saying that. Look at this.
Well, first of all, what's going to happen here?
He couldn't even answer that question. Under what legal authority?
We're joined now by the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. Mr. Secretary, thank you for joining us this morning. President Trump was pretty clear yesterday. He said the United States is going to run Venezuela. Under what legal authority?
Well, first of all, what's going to happen here is that we have a quarantine on their oil. That means their economy will not be able to move forward until the conditions that are in the national interest of the United States and the interest of the Venezuelan people are met. And that's what we intend to do.
This is all wrong. It's all wrong. It's impossible to do anything to tell them what
we begin with the latest on
they have to do. It's impossible. It's impossible. It's not possible to do it. It just doesn't work that way. You know, that's not how things work. You have to hope that they want to do the right thing, that you can do that, but you can't make them do what is right, what you think is right for you. That's not how this thing works. And,
After more than a decade imposing his repressive rule on Venezuela, Maduro was sworn in for a third term.
Let's see here. Let's just get the guest back up here that was speaking about it here.
And let's bring in Phil Gunson. He is
going to be calling the shots, and if the Venezuelan government doesn't do as it's told, then there will be consequences.
I'm just wondering, though, what's the biggest risk for instability in the country right now?
The biggest fear that we've always had is that, ironically, that the United States might succeed in its aim of splitting the Venezuelan armed forces in such a way that part of the armed forces would rebel against Maduro and throw him out. It doesn't look as if that's going to happen at the moment. The reason why we were fearful of that outcome is because that could, under certain circumstances, trigger beginnings of a civil war, some kind of possibly protracted low-intensity warfare within the country. And I think that's one of the reasons why the US pulled back from its insistence on removing the whole government and went just for kidnapping the president and taking him off as they see it to face justice.
So we're seeing...
Christy, elaborate on that. You said it's about the oil. Yeah, I think most people believe it's about the oil. But when you say Rubio has history with Venezuela, what do you mean?
A bit of consensus with the military.
What's up to you also, Christy?
But what about the general public? We've seen thousands attended a march through the capital, Caracas, calling for the release of Maduro and his wife. Is that reflective of the general public's mood?
No, absolutely not. I mean, you know, these marches are organized by the government, and quite often they're mainly comprised of public employees who don't really have a choice as to whether they go or not. The mood here has been very, very quiet. I mean, literally quiet. Almost no noise. The city feels empty. People have not gone onto the streets. Of course, people are nervous about celebrating, about expressing support for the opposition. But it was clear from the election of July of 2024, which Maduro lost badly, refused to recognize, that most Venezuelans want to see the back of Maduro. Their doubt now is, well, what does it matter if he's gone and the rest of the government is left behind?
Yo, Lauren Land, citizen. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't even really know who Christina is. I just saw her comment. And by the way, why don't you stop worrying about what you don't like and ask your own question? Why don't you just do that instead of waste people's time, man? And to me, have confidence in yourself. Make your own comments, but comments that you don't have any way of reading my mind or going back. You have no intention on going back through the thousands of videos I have and watching any of them. You have no intention of doing that. Most people don't, and most people don't have the time. So why don't you just drop it and stop assuming? Now, Christina Estrada's statement was, it's all about oil. That's her opinion. I'm asking her because I don't know, which I can only find out by asking. Okay, excuse me. I ask her, what does she mean when she says Rubio has history with Venezuela? I don't know what she mean. Now, why don't you tell me? Lauren Land, tell me, what does she mean then, since you know better? What the fuck? Tell us. Go ahead. We're waiting on Lauren Land now, citizen. Everybody, let's hear what Lauren Land, citizen. You tell her. What's the history Rubio has with, what does she mean, Christina Estrada? What does she mean? Tell us. You know better, Lauren Land. Tell us. What does she mean about Rubio has history? I don't know what she means. I've heard a lot of people say things like that, but I don't know what they mean. I have to ask. What do they mean? Do you believe Rubio has history with Venezuela, Lauren Land? Citizen, do you believe that? Or are you saying it's not true? I don't know.
I'm just curious as to...
This is crazy. The training is difficult at first, and it only gets hotter. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm curious about it, you know. I'm curious. I want to know, Eric, what do you think she means? I mean, I'm sure she's typing something now anyway. People got stuff to do in them, you know, around this time. But I'm sure Christina Estrada is going to get back to us. I'm curious about what she means, because there are people, I've heard people say that he has history, but I never looked into what history does Rubio have, because I thought he escaped Cuba. I thought he was Cuban and actually escaped not the repressive. I think if I heard it right, he didn't escape Castro. He escaped the other people before Castro, if I got this correct. Like, I don't know. His family, if I have that correct, I don't know. But I can tell you I don't know about that until I look it up for sure. But maybe I'm confusing him with another representative from Cuba. Okay, Lauren Land said, I never said anything about Rubio, so why would I comment on that? Keep up with your comments. Excuse me, I'm engaging you right now. That is keeping up. That's the same thing. So since you said something and now I'm actually reading your comment, you might want to oblige. Now I'm asking you again, since you made a claim that I only read comments, this is your statement. You only read comments who have TDS. You're saying Christina Estrada has TDS. I don't know her to have TDS. What are you talking about? And I'm asking her a question. So since you interceded in that with your statement, I'm asking you to replace her. Tell me, what do you know about Rubio? Is her comment true or not? You're saying she has TDS. Enlighten us. Just enlighten us. I just think you're just bullshitting. But in any case, let's go on. Let's just go on.
If there is a
when Estrada, we here waiting for you. Let me know what you know about Rubio. I appreciate that.
Credible pathway that Venezuelans, the public would trust at this moment.
Maria Corina Machado, who's the opposition leader, although she wasn't allowed to stand in the 2024 election, she has insisted that the result of that election must be respected, and that Edmundo Gonzalez, the opposition candidate who clearly won, must be inaugurated. And this does not seem to be a viable proposition right now.
Here is Lauren Land again talking about no comment about Obama. Interesting you drop. I didn't even see your question, but to be honest with you, listen here, just in case you need some enlightenment about how things go. I don't see all the comments all the time. Okay. So, I'm also doing something else like listening and, working this little program. So I have to turn away from reading the comments sometimes to run the show. So in case you don't realize that, I'm taking my time to explain that to you, Lauren Land. Now, here's the thing. Obama don't have nothing to do with this unless you want to tell us. Tell us what you know. Tell us what you know about the situation. Don't hold back. We talking about Venezuela, man. Come on with your information, hot shot. Let's get it going. Enlighten us. Enlighten the people. See, this goes back to this Republican always talking about what they don't like. Tell us what you want. Tell us what you know. Tell us your facts. What the hell, man? Stop being so antisocial, Lauren Land.
U.S., which Maria Corina Machado had counted on to install Edmundo Gonzalez in power, effectively, has drawn back, has pulled back from that sort of an outcome. And where do we go from here? The opposition alone doesn't seem to have anything with which to bargain, even if it were allowed back at the negotiating table.
Phil Gunson from Crisis.
Using that passive aggressive shit. You only respond to comments that have TDSD. It was like, what the fuck?
This group is speaking to us from Caracas. Many thanks for your time and insights.
Thank you.
Let's see here. All right.
If you get stuck
now, let me cut over. I just want to make sure I don't miss anything because this is DW, and then I'm gonna go into the main, the U.S. The legacy media and see what they're talking about real quick here.
Now, following the U.S. operation in Venezuela, neighboring Colombia has been on high alert. Colombian security forces have been deployed at main border crossings with Venezuela. And the president there, Gustavo Petro, has described the U.S. capture of Maduro as an assault on the sovereignty of Latin America, warning of a potential humanitarian crisis with migrants pouring across the border from Venezuela.
Damn. And this is what, I mean, we were talking about this weeks ago. when we were saying this is crazy what Trump is doing. He's talking about immigration. And when you do things like this, to be honest with you, you're not helping immigration. You're making it worse. He's making it worse. You can't have it both ways. And either you're going to get real comprehensive about immigration and comprehensive about relations in America among Americans, or you're going to just keep doing this thing where you don't get the results you want. You know what I mean? Where you don't get, and I'm talking about results on both sides of the aisle. Like, you know, there has to be comprehensive understanding by all parties, and there has to be detailed tactical actions, not just military, but economy-wise, trade-wise, industry-wise. You know, they have things we can use in Venezuela. Yeah. Why don't we want to do business with our neighbors when it costs less gas to get the products to the United States? Why don't we want to doesn't everybody get more value out of the products when they're trading close to each other? Don't people get more value? I mean, come on, you know, and it's like we seem to want to pay more for shit all the time. And I don't really get it. You know, I don't really get it. So now we're going to have a problem with Colombia. When they're our trade allies, they're our allies, we're going to have a problem with them. So what do you want to pay more for bananas? Who are you going to go to, Venezuela? Well, what the fuck? You're fucking them over right now. I mean, it's just an example of bananas. There's a whole lot of stuff, you know, and it's like, you know, so who are we going to go to now? Brazil? They don't like what we doing in Venezuela. What the fuck? It's like, who we going to go to? What the fuck, dude? Like, what the hell? And it's not like they're going to be able to replace all of the shit that we're going to lose. What you think? You going to grow coffee beans in Florida and shit and all the bananas we consume and all the other shit? It ain't happening. It ain't going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Haven't you know the price? God damn. Yo, I'm in Denmark and I'm already paying double. I'm paying about a third more for coffee since Trump came into power. Now, I'm not... Of course, I do that because I like certain kind of coffee. You know what I'm saying? I like certain kinds. And, but yo, what they doing has affected the entire coffee trade, man. It doesn't matter where you get your coffee from anymore. Just the fact that you just fucked with them made everybody's shit go up. You know, every seller is raising the cost. It's like they made coffee beans more valuable and shit. It's like, what the fuck? Why you do that, Trump? Like, what the fuck? You just made their beans more. It's like, what the hell, man? Like, damn. What the? There goes my avocado. Yeah, this shit is out the window now, man. I mean, I'm just, where is it going to end? Where's it going to end, man? Like, that's what I don't understand. Like, in immigration, man, he just is setting a time bomb off with this. He's sitting back like he got all the time in the world. No, man. More Venezuelans are going to leave Venezuela, goddammit. Don't you understand that every time you say you're going to stop business, that means more Venezuelans leave and have to go somewhere else? You're not helping people like you, Trump. Even the people that might be on your side, they're going to be forced to change because the local populations don't like your policy, Trump. So any politician in Latin America, in South America, is going to flip on you if they were right wing because they won't get elected again because you're undermining them. Like, it's the same thing in the U.S. All he's doing is producing more liberals, Trump. He's producing more liberals. That's what he's doing. He's educating MAGA people the hard way. You know what I'm saying? Like, goddamn, you know, he's educating them the hard way. It's like, not that they could learn any other way, but goddamn, if they just listened a little more, they could learn the easy way. But then, you know, Trump is dragging their ass through everything, through the mud. And it's like, everything's got to be backwards with Trump. Everything.
And we have DW's Felipe Abondano in Cucuta, a town on the border between Colombia and Venezuela, which has seen increased military presence, as we mentioned. Felipe, can you give us a picture of what the situation is like there at the border?
Hi, well, as you can see, the border has been militarized deeply. Nor Colombians or Venezuelans are accustomed to seeing tanks in this side of the region or in the border. The Colombian government has deployed 60,000 military soldiers to the region and is trying to keep safe 4 bridges that connect in this region, Colombia with Venezuela.
So Trump is putting people against each other. That's basically what it is. You know, it's not, Colombians are Colombians, Venezuelans are Venezuelans. But it sounds like he's got no problem with making one country's problem another country's problem, and inadvertently another country's problem. You know, he's basically shitting on Colombia at this point, and that's really pathetic. And I'm just telling you, like, I hope Colombians are listening. Like, this is Trump doing this. This is Trump doing this. They know that this will happen. And it's not even just Colombia. Listen, there's also. Let me pull up the map here. That's a good idea right now. Let's see here. Let's go to the map and pull up the region so we can get a good idea of what we talking about here. Just for people that haven't done this, really taking a look at it. And also, I also forget some of the countries sometimes in the region, but I know that Venezuela has multiple countries that border it, and Venezuela is a pretty big country. So it has, here we go. So let's go to, let's see here. Let's go to Venezuela and see what the deal is here. Venezuela, boom. Let me see here. Venezuela, let's get over here. Boom. Now this is Venezuela. Now you could see here, right? Everybody can see that. Let me take my camera off real quick. That might help. Here we go. So you see Venezuela is on the Atlantic Ocean, right? Colombia is its neighbor. It's on the Atlantic and it's on the Pacific. But also to the south, you have Brazil, you have Guyana, right? You have is this Brazil right here too? Yeah, it's Brazil. So you have Guyana. Is Guyana the only neighbor? Let me see. Then you have Trinidad, right? Let's zoom in a little more. Right. You have Trinidad, which is going to get a lot. They already have they've been dealing with loads of Venezuelan immigrants for some time, due to economy and Maduro and things like this, repressive regimes, or let's just say faulty economy. The economy's not booming, but yeah, that's what you got. So you got Brazil, you got Guyana here, right? Then you got Trinidad. You have over here, you have Colombia, right? And so, yeah. And then let's not forget that this can extend beyond this, So, because there's other areas here. People are going to, there's Aruba, right? There's different people going to escape. You got Puerto Rico, you got the U.S. Virgin Islands, you got Anguilla, St. Kitts, Nevis, you got Dominican. I mean, this is all Guadalupe, Martinique, St. Lucia. Man, Trump ain't considering none of these people when he makes his choices. None of them have any, he's not even thinking about folks at all. This is too comprehensive for him to engage. He's not willing to engage it. There's no one in his administration that wants to engage it. And, it's just everybody else has to goddamn live through it. I mean, that's the sad part about it.
It was a calm day today. It's Sunday, so some people used to travel to Colombia to get groceries or to see relatives. But you can perceive the tension in the air. Some people are still expecting that something else is going to happen in Venezuela. They believe that this is not the end of the Chavismo in their country.
You talk about the fear of the political situation, but overall, how are they feeling about their country, about their state as individuals in that place, and about what's to come for the country?
Well, we managed to speak with several of them that they are crossing. Some were ending their vacations, and some others are traveling to stay in Colombia. They are really happy that the Maduro years are over. It has been 13 years of this dictatorship that had meant the human rights violations and the lack of liberty in Venezuela. But they are scared of what is going to happen now in their country. They don't see a leadership of the Chavismo as a good news, and they don't see this changing in the future.
Donald Trump has also sent a warning to Colombian President Gustavo Petro, who he blames for the country's cocaine production. Do you think Petro is worried that he could meet the same fate or similar fate to Maduro?
Well, Gustavo Petro said that he's accustomed to threats. Colombia has been suffering of this being the production market of the cocaine that the world is consuming for a long time. It has happened for a long time, and it has carried a lot of consequences for the country. And Gustavo Petro is still fighting against drug dealers. 60% of the drugs that are being decommissioned in the world has happened here in Colombia. But you have to take into account that this is a big market, and they managed to gather a lot of resources, so they managed to spread worldwide. Petro is not the only one that is afraid of any actions by the United States, but also.
But there's another dynamic there that they're missing. There's a social dynamic, and there's a people. In these regions. They're mountainous regions. There are jungle, which is a great thing because let's say, for example, Colombia is number 2 biodiversity in the world. So you can't just go tampering with things. You see what I mean? Like it's something you want to preserve, biodiversity. It's something scientists love. You need that biodiversity, and if you don't need anything else, that's exactly what you need. Human beings, biodiversity, plant life and animal life, right? Isn't that what we're supposed to celebrate in these days? Or do we want everything to go extinct? So it's not a situation where you can just burn down the fucking forest. Even for your own, needs, you wouldn't want to do that. Even if you're not a Colombian, if you're not a Venezuelan, if you're an American, you wouldn't be wise to want to do that. That's stupidity, right? But there's another aspect. It's native people, poorer people that live in these areas. And the fact that they don't get enough to farm other things is what is one of the main factors behind it. You see what I mean? In eliminating it, giving people something else to do. It's the same problem in the United States. If people don't have enough to do, some of them tend to turn towards doing what they can do. And that's illegal shit. It's that simple. And as long as someone is willing to pay them for what they know, a good salary versus nothing for what they know. And you do need people that know how to farm, right? This is a farming issue. This is an agricultural issue primarily. Like, really, the people that you really have to deal with is the agricultural sector in South America, in Colombia, in Venezuela. This is an issue here. So what are we going to do with these people? Are we just going to eliminate these people? Because they're no more prone to growing that. They don't give a fuck they'll grow something else if they could. But what are you going to do about them? Your idea is just you're going to eliminate it, But what the United States can do is take responsibility for the fact that, listen, on your side of the border, you can do, programs to help people not use fucking drugs. Because if you're just going to be so weak that you use drugs just because it's available, man, you ain't going nowhere in life, yo. You're not going. Do you go across the street and buy a beer just because it's there? Oh, fuck it, it's there, I'm going to drink. Is that all you got? You're going to die in the world if you can't choose what is good for you and what is not good for you. What the hell? What, you going to just smoke all the cigarettes on earth? It's available. Let me just fucking smoke them all. And you know whose fault it is? It's the tobacco It's the tobacco growers, man. If they stop growing the tobacco, let's go in and burn the tobacco farm down and kill everybody. What the fuck? That doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. You don't like bubble gum? You gonna go kill the bubble gum makers and shit? What the fuck? The ice cream candy people, you can't keep your hands off of chocolate. So what the fuck? You gonna go burn down the chocolate forest? Like, damn. Like, I'm sorry, but this is too weak. This is too weak. Like, yo, you may as well be addicted to ketchup. What the fuck? Ketchup is everywhere. I can't keep my hands off of it. McDonald's everywhere. Can't stay out of McDonald's. I mean, is that all you got? Yo, I'm sorry, but there's no level of responsibility, you know, and the responsibility really does lie with the individual to be a happy person. You have to work on that. That's not easy. That's a job. To be a happy person requires introspective work, and people need the opportunity to do that introspective work. But in the richest country on earth, do we provide people the opportunity to do that introspective work? Or are we telling them, no, you should have done better? So, and actually, Trump is having it both ways. He's having his cake and eat it too, because he's bitching, you know, he's taking, you know, opportunities away from the poor, you know, and at the same time, he's going on the other side of the globe and blaming the poor for just trying to survive too. You see what I mean? And in the United States, the poor people are using drugs. Poor people they're trying to forget their sorrows. They're trying to forget the thing. They're not in control. They have problems. And when people have psychological problems, emotional problems, a lot of times they try to hide it and cover it up with drugs. Isn't that what you do? The doctor say, hey, take a, you know, whatever. Take one of these. That'll help you relax. Yeah, that's what a lot of people do. And when you have a drug addiction, that's the same thing. You're trying to pacify yourself, you know. And but people need the opportunity to seek counseling, seek some psychiatry, find out what is behind that pain that they're trying to forget and get over. And you will find out it's really just a lot of things, man. People just never had a chance to tune into themselves and know that being a healthy human being, it takes work too. It's not something that's given. It takes work with yourself, you know, but people don't have the opportunity when you're worried about paying them bills all the time. And, you know, and then Trump wants to, you know, he scapegoats those people. But what does he do? Then he goes across the border and scapegoats another people. You know, it's like, come on, man, this is some bullshit. You know, this is some bullshit. If you want to be happy in your life, the main person responsible is yourself. I'm talking about emotionally. You know, you have to be responsible for your emotions, what you allow in your life, what chaos you allow in your life, and what you have to cut off so that it doesn't consume your life. So you don't end up being a person that's always trying to cover up things and stuff. So, you know, but in any case,
Mexico and Chile, the president of Chile also said that if this happened in Venezuela, it can happen anywhere.
You could make the shit legal. You could make it legal also. Then what is the problem? Then you get to track everybody that's using these goddamn drugs. They could go to a legal place. You could tax the drugs. You can know who's doing it. You know, you can get some data on it. Right now, you know, they just making everything. I'm not saying legalize it because it's good, but there's plenty of things that's legalized that ain't good. Plenty of things. Smoking cigarettes good? It sure seems to be legalized. Legalized for a long time. Cigarettes ain't good for you, but it's legalized. Okay. What's that all about? But, you know, I think, to be honest with you, I mean, I don't want to talk too much about this, but I really don't think, I think the problem is it's the same thing with prohibition. You know, they fought it one way and it created they fought alcohol one way and it created a whole nother market, underground market, you know. So obviously that didn't work out. So why don't we deal with what are the reasons people abuse drugs? Why don't we deal with that first, you know? And it's not because they're available, you know?
And what about the worries from Colombia about the potential of more Venezuelan refugees crossing over? What are they saying about that?
Well, Colombia has been friendly with foreigners, especially with Venezuelan migrants. What is really being like the point that they are afraid of is the actions that some armed groups that are here in the region can take to retaliate to the United States. They believe that maybe the ELN group or the FARC dissidents can take this moment to make military or terrorist actions to see how they are going to fight against colonialism. But this can happen in the border, and that's why the military of Colombia are being deployed. It's really hard to prevent any terrorist action in the side of Colombia.
DW's Felipe Abondano in the Colombian border.
Okay, so that was interesting from DW News. You know, yeah, I don't know, man. This is bullshit because we know that Trump's not there because of the drugs. We know that it's basically, well, we don't know, but I'm guessing from what he shows people. It doesn't sound like it's too clear about what this is about in the first place. So you can't assume it's about the drugs. You can't assume it's about the oil, because maybe it's about the minerals too. Maybe it's about everything. You know what I'm saying? Colonizing. You know what I mean? He's not going to tell you, well, we want to colonize Venezuela. He's not going to tell you all the good things that Venezuela has or Colombia has. He's just going to find some, key word he can say, dictator, oil. Yeah. Now it's cocaine. That's the problem. It's like, no, man. This region, let me see. What is, I know Colombia is number 2 biodiversity, but let me see. What are the top nations regarding biodiversity? Let me see here. Yeah, just to go through that list real quick. I'm not sure where Venezuela is on that, but I'm thinking that the neighbor is goddamn Colombia, and Colombia is supposed to be number 2, right? So look. Oh, Colombia is now number 3. Okay, so look. The big 3, absolute species rich. These countries contain highest total number of plants, mammals, birds, and fish on the planet. Brazil, consistently ranked number 1. Who are we fucking around with? Who are we bitching about now? Whose territory are we in making political blunders? Brazil, consistently ranked number 1, is the home to roughly 13% of all global species, right? The Amazon rainforest and Pantanal wetlands and the Atlantic forest give it a massive lead in plants and amphibians. Indonesia, number 2, ranked 2 as an archipelago of 17,000 islands. It holds the world's, damn, it has that many islands, Indonesia? It has the world's highest number of mammal species and second highest number of fish. That means variety, not actual volume, but variety, right? Colombia, ranked number 3. Though much smaller than the first 2, it's the world champion for bird diversity and butterflies, largely due to its intersection of the Andes Mountains. So, in the Andes Mountains, let's see here. Does it not? Where now? How is Venezuela not in the top 10? Okay, you got Peru is number 5. So look, this is what they say. They say rank Brazil, Indonesia, China, Colombia. So globally, Colombia is number 2. And Colombia is number 4 globally. In America, it's number 2. That's very important to note. Globally, Peru is number 5. That would be in America. That would be number 3. Mexico is number 6. In America, that would be number 4. Right? Yeah. And then USA is number 10. So I don't know if anybody gets anything, but why is Venezuela not listed? That's what I'm trying to figure out. How is that possible? It's around Peru. It's around Colombia. Yeah. It's one of the top nations for biodiversity. It's officially recognized as the world's 17th mega diverse. So it's rated at number 17. Okay. That's interesting. So for some reason it's just lower. Okay. But yeah, but in any case, now I want to get back. Let me look at the chat and see what y'all talking about here. Nagria is about minerals. Yeah, that could be it. I mean, well, look, they have minerals. They got minerals definitely in the region, these mountains and all of that stuff. They got minerals. And as we said, on that border region, and there's illegal mining going on. And they say some people, well, what we just went through with some information that said Venezuela government, some military people are behind some of the illegal mining. And no, actually, what am I talking about? Generals behind some of the illegal mining in Venezuela. But then there's some other facets from Venezuela that are involved in illegal mining also. And, it seems like this is starting to have a very similar look, right? To other conflicts in the world. And I think that is the big fear. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Trump really, what he has in mind is just all out chaos, like the region plummeting into war or something over resources, like, because he doesn't seem to be, I don't know, he doesn't seem to be too eager to get the fuck out of there and let people do some, or to work with the international community. Look, if you wanted the opposition, the people that won the election, if you wanted them, or you wanted a democratic government, wouldn't you be working with the international community? Wouldn't you be finding out what others want and what others are willing to support and aid in? And you need aid to have a diplomatic government. You need people, Spanish-speaking people from the region that care about the region, to be able to do anthropology, to be able to go into the country, to be able to do some, the nuts and bolts work of a free and fair election. It just seems to me like Trump is not interested in any of the norms. It just seems like he's not. But in any case, let's continue. Let's go to
Democrats
the
are
legacy
demanding answers from the Trump administration, saying top officials lied to them about ousting Nicolas Maduro and questioning whether the president
top officials lied to them. Okay, that's some stark words.
Violated the Constitution by attacking Venezuela without congressional approval. Here with me now is a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee,
King?
Democrat Chris Murphy of Connecticut. Thank you so much for being here.
Certainly.
What is your reaction to this operation?
Well, I mean, clearly this is wildly illegal. This is a president who has been operating illegally since he was sworn into office, stealing from the American people, seizing spending power.
What's illegal?
Now dragging America into a war overseas. The president cannot run a military operation of this size, cannot invade a foreign country without coming to Congress first, without allowing the American public to weigh in. America doesn't want this war. Nobody asked for this because it has nothing to do with American national security. And I think that's the most important conversation to have. Venezuela is not a security threat to the United States. They're not threatening to invade us. There is no terrorist group like Al-Qaeda operating there that has plans to attack the United States. To the extent that you care about the drug trade, yes, they produce drugs, but those drugs go to Europe. Fentanyl is the drug that's killing Americans. That's not coming from Venezuela. Venezuela produces cocaine. 90% of it is not coming to the United States. This seems to be mostly about oil and natural resources. Donald Trump's entire foreign policy is corrupt. Russia, the Middle East, and now Venezuela is all about making money for his friends. And Wall Street, the oil industry, they can make a lot of money off of Venezuela if they run it. You saw within hours of the invasion the announcement of a group of Wall Street investors, energy industry investors, planning a trip to Venezuela to make money off of this invasion, off of this ouster. So unfortunately, once again,
Now,
you're seeing
you know what?
that this president's
right there. U.S. citizens should be concerned, if not for democracy, for your own ass, your own life. Because think about this. These oil people that are going down there, do they want you to have health care? Do they want you to have fair access to education? Do they want you to have a job that pays the bills? Do they want you to have, housing, fair housing? Like, do they want that? So are they willing to circumvent democracy just to make more greedy money for themselves? Like, really? And I think that should alarm American people. The fact that they don't fall in line with democracy. Like, to me, again, if you don't care about democracy, at least think about your own ass, because the democracy is what's protecting you, getting you rights. The circumventing it, these people being willing to just go down there, circumvent other people's laws, circumvent their own country's laws, not even care that this is not legal even under the U.S. law. To just go down there and want to make money, like. And again, I want to remind every American that nobody's talking about giving you any of that oil money. None of that oil money is going into your pocket. You're paying for the military to remove Maduro. You will pay for the setup cost of everything, the taxpayer, right? But you will not benefit at all, your family. So in other words, these oil companies use the taxpayer dollars to go get themselves some more money. That's what they did. And you're subsidizing this. You know, the taxpayer is subsidizing this shit. The taxpayer paid for this because the U.S. military is a socialized American project. It is paid for 100% by the taxpayer. So what is this? You know, like I'm just saying, Americans get to pay for rich people to make money all the fucking time. And those people don't give a fuck whether you don't have health care. Like, they don't give a damn.
Foreign policy, the invasion of Venezuela, the ouster of Maduro, is about making his crowd filthy rich. It has nothing to do with American national security.
Can I just go back to...
Neil said he don't care about democracy. And also, Neil, you don't care about your own ass either, I see.
The legality and the point that you made about needing to come to Congress first. You know that for decades, Congress has let Democratic and Republican presidents sort of go for it on military actions. I mean, look at President Obama in Libya. And so it's not new that Congress has become, frankly, impotent on issues and matters of war.
That's absolutely true. And Congress needs to own its own role in allowing a presidency to become this lawless. The fact of the matter is that the president's justification makes no sense here. He says that this was just a law enforcement operation. Well, there are people with warrants all over the world. That doesn't give the President of the United States the power to launch $1 billion invasion of those countries.
That was $1 billion tax-funded invasion, taxpayer-funded invasion. That was $1 billion. That's crazy. They cut $1 trillion of your tax dollars from healthcare. Like, that $1 trillion that you pay in taxes that goes towards healthcare, you don't get health care from that, but they get their $1 trillion. Those subsidized companies, government subsidized companies, oil, you see this kind of thing. I mean, it's indirectly subsidized because they wouldn't have access to the oil if the taxpayers' military didn't invade and remove the president, So, again, they're using, private industry is using the taxpayer. They're using you. They're using your hard labor. You're not just working for yourself. You're not just working for your boss. I mean, you're not just working for your boss when you go to work. You're working for other bosses. That's crazy. Like, you're literally working for the oil motherfucking company. That is crazy. Because they used your military that is 100% paid for by the taxpayer, funded, payroll taxes and all that shit. I don't know what 70-60% is payroll taxes, but it's all federal dollars. It's all taxes. They use your military that is there to protect you to actually go in and get oil for private companies. That's what they did. So you're actually working for them. When you go to work to pay taxes, those taxes are working to get them access to oil, but you're not getting access to cheap energy. You're not getting access to health care. The people that pay it aren't even getting access to fucking health care. You paying for oil companies motherfucking access to oil, and you can't even get health care with your own tax money. I mean, that is sad. That is pathetic. That cannot work anywhere in any democratic country on earth. Any place where people pay taxes, you have to be cringing at this concept. You have to be cringing at it, and you have to be saying, thank God that ain't us. Thank God that ain't us. That's the Americans. That is the Americans that choose it that way when they vote. Everybody else is like, oh, hell no. We better make sure this shit never happens to us because our health care is going to be gone. Our rights to education is going to be gone if you allow this to happen in your country. Watch.
To bring a fugitive to justice. Yes.
Ed, what's up, Ed?
Congress should have stepped in and either authorized or prohibited President Obama's actions in Libya. Yes, the United States Congress has sat on the sidelines to allow presidents to become more and more powerful in foreign policy, but that doesn't mean that it suddenly gives a imprimatur of legality to this massive.
You see, now he brought up Obama in Libya. So if I do recall correctly, somebody in the beginning, early in the stream was like something about Obama. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what they're talking about. But here's the thing. Anybody that listens to this program or bothers to hear what I say, you will hear me tell you I'm not a typical Democrat anyway. So, and I don't think there's typical Democrats, because Democrats are a big tent. Democrats are a huge tent. A lot of different people in that tent. You see what I mean? But so you can't assume that all Democrats have exactly the same priorities or have exactly the same experiences. But one thing we tend to agree on is the basics that everybody needs, right? Especially when you compare to what the basics are in other Western countries that everybody in other Western countries gets, and we don't. So we tend to agree on those things as Democrats. But this man, he's a Democratic rep right here. He's a senator, right? Foreign Relations Committee. And he's openly talking about Obama and saying that was a mistake. So you see, this is an example of a Democrat acknowledging a mistake. So stop going out there assuming that Democrats don't ever acknowledge their own mistakes when some of their representatives that get in power make those mistakes. That's a fallacy. That's not a truth. The truth is that they do. And you're seeing it right here. Now, I don't know how many of you MAGA, there's loads of MAGA people that realize Trump make mistakes every day. But there's also a lot that still argue, how come you ain't talking about Obama? That's what you could expect from Trump. That's what Trump says. Talk about Obama. Talk about Biden. Talk about Kamala. Every Trump sycophant is always just constantly, please don't talk about what Trump is doing. Only talk about Kamala Harris. Only talk about, how long ago fucking Obama was in office? You may as well be saying, talk about your grandmama. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck? That was a while ago, dude. That's old politics, man. Obama ain't around. That's just opening up a can. So now we got to talk about Obama and the good things he did too. Like, what the fuck? Let's stay on topic. Yes. We can learn from Obama too. Yes. We're pointing that out in the argument against Trump, that this was made. This is not a partisan issue here. You see what I mean? Mistakes have to be acknowledged as a country to move forward. But you guys voted for a motherfucker. Come on. The MAGA people are QAnon people that were believing Hillary Clinton, believing that the Epstein files was Hillary Clinton drinking blood on Epstein Island. Like, straight up. That's what they believe. They didn't even connect it to Trump. You know what I'm saying? They voted for fucking Trump's ass, and this shit turns out to be Trump. You see what I mean? And they still won't admit it. They made a mistake. They still won't admit they made a mistake. You see what I mean? Like, it's like, yo, if you voted for Trump, something is wrong with your thinking. You're not that sharp. The dude is a billionaire. Just fuck Epstein Island. Why would you think a billionaire would give a fuck about you? What the fuck happened to that politic? That's rule number one. In class politics, the richer get the, who the fuck, man? And it's like, let alone Epstein Island. They should have known from step one this dude doesn't give a fuck. And then they could have got into, and he's also misogynistic. That's widely obvious. He's a misogynist. You know what I'm saying? And then Epstein Island. There was loads of things to pay attention to, but these Trump people didn't pay attention to one goddamn thing, because he was able to go out and say bigoted shit. And that's what they really harmonized on. Like, oh, really? You don't like Venezuela? You don't like Mexicans? He doesn't like gays? He doesn't like transsexuals? What about the bathrooms? How long did we talk about the goddamn bathrooms? You know what I'm saying? What are we going to do about the bathrooms? Like, what the fuck? They spent more time on the bathrooms than they did healthcare, schools, anything. What are we going to do about the bathrooms? What just so happened if a dude who's born a male, turns into a lady, wears a goddamn dress, and goes into the ladies' bathroom. Man, grow the fuck up. Yo, what the fuck? I'm a man. I wear pants. I'm a heterosexual man. I go into the ladies' bathroom. What the fuck? It's cleaner. If it's available, I don't give a damn. And these motherfuckers are like, what if a dude wearing a dress walks in? What if I walk in wearing my goddamn sweatpants dressed like this because I got to take a piss? Okay? What the fuck? What the fuck? I never thought about nothing political about it. I thought about it, hey, people understand. A guy's got to take a piss sometimes. I've left the ladies' bathroom plenty of times, and I've been like, excuse me. I'm sorry. Excuse me. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? What is this, man? I'm a responsible adult. I get to use the goddamn bathroom. What the fuck, man? I mean...
Massive invasion of a foreign country that the American public didn't ask for.
There's no question that Maduro was a destabilizing force, not just in Venezuela, in the region. And there are people...
If you're a woman and you got to take a piss, what are you going to do? You got to make a choice at some point. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the hell is going on? What's going on with people? And notice in that conversation, they didn't bring up once having something like a place to change your baby in the bathroom. None of that ever comes into play. When you're dealing with the politics, useful shit never comes into play. You talk about public transport, nobody talk about how you can have carriages on the bus without clapping them. Can you do that for the public? Can parents that have kids actually get on their bus without clapping their fucking wagon and removing every goddamn thing? How about that? You see what I mean? But they don't want to talk about these things. Child care, none of that. They want to talk about the motherfucking bathroom. It's like, okay, great, great. Thank you. Thank you for wasting everybody's fucking time. And these people get their dental shit is paid for by the taxpayer. You know what I'm saying? The people that are doing these conversations. Like, not once are they talking about how you can get dental care.
Celebrating in the streets all over South America and Venezuelan expats abroad. So is it fair to say that there is some benefit in Maduro not being in power?
But what changes? I mean, you just heard Senator Cotton effectively not be able to explain who's running the country now. Delcy Rodriguez is a very powerful figure in her own right, handpicked by Maduro. Russia and China still provide enormous support to that country. What changes? Why would Venezuela stop its export of drugs, its harassment of U.S. interests in the region? There's really no explanation for how American interests are changed at all with a Rodriguez administration that right now seems to be intent on carrying through and carrying forward the policies of Nicolas Maduro.
In 2019, you wrote an op-ed and you called for
in Denmark. They have people have tried different things, with the bathroom. Sorry to take people back to the chat. What's going on in the chat? But listen, they have different bathrooms. Some places don't. Some places, maybe some museums and places like that don't. Things change, and it takes time. After there's a law, then it takes time for to issue the funds and then to implement the changes. So change can take a little bit of time, right? But they have places like I've been to plenty of museums and historic sites that just have neutral bathrooms, and it's just for anybody, but they're maintained very well, clean. Stalls have only stalls in it and hand washing areas, and then they also have a place for the child thing, or they might have another bathroom that's separate just for people that have children, but it's not gender relevant. It's child relevant. You go in here if you have a child, man or woman. You can there's things to help you change your that are relevant to that. But outside of that, then you can have neutral bathrooms. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think the ones paid for by the public are neutral, to be honest. But then again, there's diversity in it. You see what I mean? That also works, right? It depends on what the situation is, right? Maybe that's part of it. And don't quote me here because I don't know exactly what the law is. I can just tell you what I've seen and witnessed on the ground, right? But I've also been to private places, bars, for example. The cocktail bar I go to from time to time, That doesn't have a man or a woman's bathroom. That has 2 bathrooms. They're both the same. One's bigger than the other, but anybody can use it, man or woman. Only one person can use it at a time. You know what I mean? And people the owner has to maintain it. So if there's a complaint about the condition of the bathroom, the owner sends a staff member there to fix it. Very simple. Very simple. And if you have any couth about yourself, or if you're just not a nasty ass motherfucker, then you want to leave the bathroom how it was when you came. You know what I'm saying? Like, but yeah, I mean, this is, anyway, enough about this. Enough of
Maduro to be gone. You said, let's get one thing straight.
In carrying forward the policies of Nicolas Maduro.
In 2019, you wrote an op-ed and you called for Maduro to be gone. You said, let's get one thing straight. There should no longer be any debate about Maduro's lack of democratic legitimacy. The Trump administration is right to put restoring Venezuelan democracy at the center of our approach to this crisis. A return to a stable democracy is in the interest of the Venezuelan people and the United States and the hemisphere. We don't know what's going to happen with regard to the civilian leadership there.
Let me bring that back one more time, though. I want to hear that. This is, who said this? Who said this? 2 seconds.
Bad, and you called for Maduro to be gone.
Okay, so this is his statement. I get it.
Said, let's get one thing straight. There should no longer be any debate about Maduro's lack of democratic legitimacy. The Trump administration is right to put restoring Venezuelan democracy at the center of our approach to this crisis. A return to a stable democracy is in the interest of the Venezuelan people and the United States and the hemisphere. We don't know what's going to happen with regard to the civilian leadership there. Tom Cotton was just here saying that he hopes that there are democratic elections. Isn't that what you want?
Well, the rest of that article right, was a criticism of President Trump's early moves to saber rattle around regime change. Listen, there are evil, brutal dictators all over the world. That does not give the American president the right to invade those countries, in large part because we have seen how this script plays out. I watched an interview with Senator Cotton. You asked him what the difference was between Iraq and Venezuela. He didn't say the difference was we aren't going to invade Venezuela like we invaded Iraq. He said that if we invade Venezuela, which may be part of the president's plan, it's going to go really well. Over and over again, we have seen these warmongers.
Yeah, that's true. He was like, I'm going to describe it as invading. I'm not even going to describe it as something else, you know. And that's also an interesting point, too, because when Putin, damn near same damn thing. But when Putin invaded Ukraine, he actually didn't call it an invasion. He opted out in his language from using that. He called it something else, an operation, right? But he didn't. He said it's not an invasion, actually, you know. And he described it as many different things, you know. But everyone knows that it was an invasion. But Trump just spit it out there from the top, invasion. Isn't that kind of weird? Isn't that kind of weird how he described his own operation using that term? That's kind of strange too, you know. Not that that's out of line with anything else, but
Venezuela, part because
it's just worth noting, you know. Let's see
the American president the right to invade those countries, in large part because we have seen how this script plays out. I watched an interview with Senator Cotton. You asked him what the difference was between Iraq and Venezuela. He didn't say the difference was we aren't going to invade Venezuela like we invaded Iraq. He said that if we invade Venezuela, which may be part of the president's plan, it's going to go really well. Over and over again, we have seen these warmongering neocons, many of which have influence in this White House, cheerlead us into war under the guise of removing a very bad man. That ends up getting a lot of Americans killed.
Saying that there was weapons of mass destruction to as a pretext to enter
what's up, Happy King?
War. You were one of the few people who, after the fact, acknowledged the failure of that intelligence and the failure of the invasion in general. What lessons did you learn from that you think are applicable to now? And what sort of warning would you give to the Trump administration about embarking on such an endeavor?
Well, the U.S. military is second to none in terms of its capability, and I'm not surprised at all about how successful this operation was, just the way it was successful in Iraq. But regime building, trying to change a system from outside, is really exceptionally difficult and complex. And we found out in Iraq that there was a disaster, basically, and it led to many, many years of disarray, chaos, and confusion and violence inside of Iraq and in neighboring countries as well. And so what has happened in Venezuela now, I think, really raises some serious questions about what does the future hold? And what does it mean as far as the future of Venezuela? But even maybe more profoundly, what does it mean as far as the U.S. role globally? The Trump administration issued their national security strategy late last year, and it really was focused on economic gain and profiteering. And it's quite apparent that it was Venezuela's oil wealth that really attracted the Trump administration to carry out this operation. And so the fact that we think that, or the Trump administration thinks that it can run Venezuela and that the people standing behind Donald Trump at that press conference are going to run it, I think really is quite, the situation in Iraq showed how difficult doing something like that from afar, doing something like that by a foreign interventionist force, which is what Donald Trump basically is saying is happening in Venezuela.
Yeah, Director Brennan, we did it from afar, but we also did it with boots on the ground, right? Many of them. My father, one of them, when I was in high school, was sent into fight in those wars in the 2000s. The thing that President Trump and the administration have said that sounds very much like the folks during the Bush administration is that it won't cost us anything. That can't be possibly true, either in money and resources that the taxpayers are going to end up paying and sending folks over there, whether they're FBI, CIA, or actual troops on the actual ground. Because
I don't think you're getting access to this oil with Trump's points so far. He might have to change his perspective on how he does business, but with what he's laid out, I don't think that's going to get access to the oil. I think something else is probably likely. And also, at what point, again, this is a taxpayer intervention. This is U.S. taxpayers paying for this so he's talking about starving them out. At the same time, he's basically starving out American citizens in their own country. Like, he's like, we're going to cut your health care while you pay for this intervention. We're going to cut your health care, fuck up the economy, make things cost more for you while you pay for this intervention in Venezuela. For who? The oil companies who don't care if you don't have health care, who don't care if you don't have, anything. Like, it's just bad for the U.S. taxpayer alone. The U.S. taxpayer is losing on this. And I think if you're an American citizen, you got to understand that you are financing this with your tax dollars, but you're not financing your health care. You're not financing your education, but you're financing this. That is what Trump is saying your part in being a good American is. That is fucked up. That's totally fucked up, let alone everything else. Let alone what it does to the Venezuelan people or Venezuela, because we can't guarantee them something that they have to, on large, create themselves. And they could create it. I don't see Venezuelans as being any more different than Americans, to be honest with you. U.S. Americans. I don't see them being any different from anybody. I don't think it's character flaws. I don't think it's willingness any different. I don't think ability. I think infrastructure is the difference, and that's what a lot of them, have been working towards. But if we're always going to be adversarial, then instead of, thinking about things in a more holistic manner. We claim to not want Putin and China in Venezuela or South America, but what are we doing? What tools are we using? We're talking about stopping their trade instead of trading with them. We don't. It's almost like we have a two-faced kind of approach. Like, we're scared to decide who we're going to be. On one hand, we want them to work with us, but we don't want to work with them at the same time. We don't want them to improve themselves. We don't want their governments their infrastructure to improve. We don't want them, I don't think there's room for that anymore. We have to commit on a human level, I think, as Americans, to understand how we're going to benefit each other and work on that, so that we all rise up together. Not this kind of competitive nature, because you end up spending more money, wasting resources, wasting human life. We're just wasting here, with this theory that Trump has. And instead of just saying what we are, being real about the facts, they're not different from us. They might speak Spanish, but they don't really have a different culture. They don't really have a different culture, man. They don't. They're using the same damn instruments. They know what jazz is. We know what Copacabana is. We watch I Love Lucy and shit. we know what all that's about. We had that shit in the U.S. What the fuck? That's nothing there. There's no difference. You know what I'm saying? This American experience is broader than the USA. You know what I mean? And if you want to have a beautiful American experience, it's broader than just one American country. You see what I mean? It always has been. It doesn't matter if you're talking about North or South. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. There's more to being American than just the location you're from. You see what I mean? And I think this stuff Trump is doing, he's just wasting more time. He's not working with people, being adversarial with people, being a dictator, trying to tell people rudely what they're going to do. And instead of treating people like they're equals, asking them, how can we work together, and being encouraged and happy about that and aggressive about the ways we can work together. It's always about what your problem is, and it's like, at this point, I'm so tired of it. It's
hard to imagine, at the very least, that in order to secure the oil.
Do me a favor, click the like button, y'all. I appreciate it. I know I haven't said that a lot this video because I've been actually trying to pay attention. It's Monday and I just want to get through the news. But if you haven't clicked the like button, click the like button. I appreciate it.
That this president says we want to get back, in his words. You can't do that, in my estimation, and probably others, and I assume you as well, without some kind of presence, a strong presence, because folks just don't give up their best resource.
Oh, good looking out, Rafiq. I appreciate that, Rafika.
Well, absolutely. And Donald Trump said yesterday that he's not averse to having U.S. boots on the ground in Venezuela. And it would take an awful lot of boots in order to secure that country, including its oil infrastructure. And that oil infrastructure has been, in disrepair for many, many years. And it's going to take many months and years in order to try to build up the oil infrastructure. And then, although Donald Trump said that U.S. oil companies are going to be part of this sort of extraction processing sort of system, I wonder how many U.S. oil companies are willing to send their people in there if there's a question about the stability of Venezuela.
But yeah, who's going to protect them? So if you're not going to work with them, you're going to be on the ground there too, U.S. forces. And this is not going anywhere. This is just not going anywhere good with Trump at the helm. This is with his direction. It's not going anywhere good with his direction,
And I'm sure there are a number of individuals who support Maduro who are going to continue to resist any type of foreign occupation or foreign intervention. And the country is awash in weapons. And I'm sure right now people are trying to secure their future by, seizing weapons and trying to figure out who's in charge and who to give their allegiance to. It's going to be a very, very chaotic situation and a turbulent situation in Venezuela for many years to come, in the way that the Trump administration is talking about actually running Venezuela from Washington, D.C.
Yeah, this is it's not good. It's not good, actually. I don't know. I mean, we all know it's not good, but this is what people are saying. This is what the so we started off listening to what some of the German news was saying about this, German English news, and now we're listening to some of the U.S. news commentary.
On the reason.
So let's continue.
From everything he has said before, as evidenced by what we played leading into you.
Oh, about regime change. Yeah. So that was another interesting part of that conversation. I asked him, I mean, I lived through reporting on the Iraq war and the invasion in the early 2000s. I reported on Trump's 2016 campaign, which was explicitly against regime change, against endless wars, against nation building. And I said, look, there's some parallels here. What do you think? What's the difference between Iraq and Venezuela? He said, you'd have to ask President Bush about that. That wasn't my conflict. And then he pretty forcefully embraced the idea of rebuilding Venezuela or regime change. I think it's important to say this isn't the same situation, at least right now. I mean, it could deteriorate. When he talks about rebuilding, he's talking about getting American oil interests to invest in rebuilding the infrastructure now. But we don't know how this ends. We don't know what private conversations are going on with the Venezuelan government right now. We don't know if, the second wave attack that the president has talked about being possible, which was implicit in his comments about the vice president, is going to take place, and what it will take to basically do what the president said he wanted to do yesterday, which was run Venezuela remotely.
Over the last 15 years, startups...
That's his idea? Run Venezuela remotely. I would really love to know who else is going to. J.D. Vance, do you agree with that? Marco Rubio, do you agree with that? Who else? Who else in there? Elon Musk, do you agree with that? Yeah, Peter Thiel, do you agree with that? Pam Bondi, do you? Who agrees with that? MAGA Mike Johnson, do you agree with that? MAGA Mike Johnson, everyone who agrees with that needs to never be in government again. You know what I'm saying? Just get them out of any federal government, get them out of any state level government. Like, they should just not be allowed to be in government at all. We really need a list of people that go for this type of stuff, because this is just, it's blasphemy. It's ridiculous. It's political blasphemy. You can't operate this way, It just doesn't work. But any case, let's see what else.
And after President Trump's assertion that the United States will, quote, run Venezuela after capturing President Nicolas Maduro and his wife. Trump.
He made it sound like, look, check this out. This is the bullshit behind Trump. They criticize government workers and others, private workers that work remotely. They literally did that and ordered people, you better return back to work on January 5th. And it's today. All those people that were allowed to work remotely because of COVID, but actually remote work. Remote work is done a lot in a lot of countries in the world. There's reasons why you might want to have remote work. One of the reasons was in the US, they discovered that COVID might be a reason. Well, it's hard if your kids can't go to school, then how are you going to do your job? So if you have an office job that you sit down on a computer and use a phone, they can help you have that at home, right? While you do that, that helps families that have parents that work, right? That makes things tick and click. I mean, Denmark, people have that right anytime. If their kid gets sick, they can work. In a lot of places, they can work remotely. If they're sick, something, maybe they're allowed to do that if they're not feeling well. And if their boss knows who they are, they let them do that. But Trump was the one who wanted to end. He called remote work woke. And look at his bitch ass. He's trying to employ woke ideology on running Venezuela. I mean, that's some crazy shit for you. You know what I'm saying? So Trump, he does like woke. And what does he think about DEI, matter of fact, in regards to running Venezuela? You know what I'm saying? I mean, but damn, he's definitely on this remote work shit. I mean, this is just not going to go good for Trump. But let's find. Matter of fact, if I was Venezuela, I would send all the minorities you have up there to just let all the minorities work with Trump. Just send them all up there. Be like, find somebody who's gay. Make them the leader. Send a contingent of the bi or whatever, the LGBT. Send a couple of them. Send a couple of other minorities. I don't know who they might be. Maybe it's some Afro-Venezuelans you might want to send up there. Maybe it's a few handicapped people. Send them all them, the whole squad. Send a mother. Make sure it's plenty of mothers there. Walk in there with. Have the leader be like a mother with a child walk in the fucking room and negotiate this shit with, do it like that because, you know, hey, what the fuck? It's your country, and this guy wants to fuck with your head and fuck with your life. I mean, you may as well get some get back, you know, while you can. Even if you got to play along, get some get back. You know, fight this guy psychologically, if nothing else. You know what I'm saying? Like, make a statement, make them all take pictures. And then that way you have to have the head of the U.S. stand there, you know, shaking hands with a, you know, with a transvestite from Venezuela. See what I'm saying? Like, they made the deal, and then you just give the yes, the blah 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 was the first. Blah, blah, blah. Yes, he did. He shook his goddamn hand. Had to do it. You know.
Didn't
All
give a clear outline for his administration's
Any case,
plan.
I'm sorry.
for
I'm
Venezuela.
sorry. I know it's just a joke, but I mean, you know, why not? It's like, what the fuck? Send the gayest motherfucker you can find out there. Dress his ass up in high heels and make him make the deal. You know what I'm saying?
But says it will last until, in his words, a proper and judicious transition can take place. The lack of clarity is trickling down to the country's citizens as questions.
Just make him irritate him with that voice and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Loom over who is actually in charge of Venezuela. While Trump says that the U.S. is temporarily in control and claims that Venezuela's vice president, Delcy Rodriguez.
Oh, this is where it's going to get interesting. This is really what I wanted to know. I wanted to hear more about her perspective if she made any comments. You know?
Has been sworn in as interim president. However, Rodriguez has not declared herself acting president or mentioned a political transition. Venezuela also has not announced that she has taken the oath of office, and Rodriguez condemned the U.S. attack and the capture of the country's president, calling Maduro, quote, the only president. Joining us now, former director of the...
Yeah, they probably shutting down Grindr over there. That's true. On their arrival and shit. It's like, you know, this U.S. contingency of oil people, Grindr going to be shut down in goddamn Venezuela for a couple of days.
The Central Intelligence Agency, John Brennan. He is MS Now's Senior National Security and Intelligence Analyst. Director Brennan, as always, thank you very much for coming to the weekend. Before I ask you my initial question, I just want to correct the record on something I said in the previous block. Those live pictures we were looking at were not coming from Venezuela. They were coming from outside the U.S. Embassy in Madrid, in Spain. So apologies for that error. Director Brennan, I'm confused, and I'm sure a lot of Americans are confused by what has happened and who's in charge now in Venezuela. I'm going to play what President Trump had to say yesterday on this question. Watch this.
Yo, Grindr is actually opened in Venezuela for all the U.S. contingency that's going down there to work on the oil deals. Grindr is actually open. You can work on, you can sign up in Grindr, you can communicate in Grindr. So just for your information, oil contingency. Yeah. Anyway, come on.
Your competitors are going to hate me for doing this, but
shit, here we go. Got to pay the bills. Sorry about that. Yeah, let's go through it now.
We're talking to people. We're designating various people, and we're going to let you know who those people are. It's largely going to be, for a period of time, the people that are standing right behind me. We're going to be running it.
Ooh, largely for a period of time, the people standing right behind him. And look at Mark Rubio's face. He's probably salivating. He probably just got that news and shit. Ugh, I can get down there to Grindr, Venezuela Grindr. I can't wait.
We're going to be bringing it back.
So, Director Brennan, it's likely going to be for a period of time, so that's indeterminate. But then the people that are standing right behind me, we're going to be running it. We're going to be bringing it back. You're a former director of the CIA. How concerned would you be if you were currently the director of the CIA and what that means for America's commitments going forward in that country?
Well, you use the term confusion.
What's up, X through? What's up? I see X through the glass. I see your comment.
There are a lot of sort of confusing signals that are being sent by the administration and a real lack of detail. And as you pointed out, the acting president now, I presume, the former vice president, Delcy Rodriguez, has been somebody that's been closely associated with Nicolas Maduro, as well as his predecessor, Hugo Chavez.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we seen this one. All right, hold on. Now let me flip it now. Let's go to MS. Let's go to MS. Sorry about that. That second one was kind of cut up. So let's see here.
Well, from the strikes has only just begun, as Democratic Congressman Adam Smith, who serves as ranking Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee, writes, quote, I have grave concerns about the impact that today's actions will have on international relations and the United States standing in the world.
Yeah, I miss Bits too.
To
Where's
violate
Bits
the
at?
very international laws and
Also, Tia, I guess they've been busy. Tia's been busy, but Bits, where you at, Bits?
norms that have
Hope you're doing okay.
protected the United States and our partners and allies for more than 80 years. These actions run counter to everything that Donald Trump campaigned on. And rather than ending conflicts, the president has chosen to drag the U.S. into further foreign wars. Joining us now is the person who wrote that letter, Democratic Congressman and ranking member of the House Armed Services Committee, Adam Smith. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us on this Sunday morning. As you say, as I read what you said, what I'm also thinking about is how the president has talked about this. And the way he's talked about it is as a business acquisition, right? Like he's not talking about it as what military experts and all of us who have studied history see it as, which is like a haphazard regime change where you take the leader but don't get rid of the rest of the regime. And instead, he is talking about it as oil, as this, we are taking back what they took from us. We're only going to get rid of the CEO, so to speak, and then the rest of the company, we will run it, right? And I wonder what you think about that and how the idea of running foreign policy as like he's running the Trump Inc. of it all.
Yeah, well, two things. First of all, the Secretary Rubio is completely wrong. This didn't have much to do with sort of enforcing the law at the Justice Department. This was a regime change operation. And now they use the excuse that Maduro was indicted, but as we all know, the Honduran president, who was convicted, they went ahead and pardoned. This was about regime change. This was about changing the power in Venezuela. And why? And that gets to the question you just asked. I think you have to believe that if Maduro, like a week ago, had called Trump up and said, let's make a deal. I'll let your oil companies in. I'll let them go in and start, drilling for oil in Venezuela again. I think Trump would have been perfectly okay with Maduro. And he's made that clear in his press conference. That's what this is about. He wants access to the oil in Venezuela, which is basically the United States saying, because we are strong and powerful, we will take over a country that has a resource that we want. And that is completely wrong on a whole series of levels. But Trump has made it very clear that that is what this is about. And understand the history here. Until about 1976, that's sort of the way Venezuela was run. The Venezuelan president, in a whole series of corrupt deals, worked with foreign oil companies so that, he and his, supporters made money and the oil companies made money and the Venezuelan people got screwed. And then in 1976, they finally changed that. And that's what Trump is upset about. He wants back control of Venezuelans' oil.
Let's hear that part one more time, because he gave a brief description of this dynamic between Venezuela and the U.S. and what Trump was alluding to when he said we lost, that was our oil. So Trump is referring to this relationship in the past. Let's hear it.
President, in a whole series of corrupt deals, worked with foreign oil companies so that, he and his, supporters made money and the oil companies made money and the Venezuelan people got screwed. And then in 1976, they finally changed that. And that's what Trump is upset about. He wants back control of Venezuelans' oil. Now, I could go down a whole bunch of different roads as to why that's horrible foreign policy. But let's stop kidding ourselves about what it's about. Trump wants greater control of Venezuela so that U.S. companies and presumably probably his family and his cronies can exploit those resources and make money. That's what this is about.
Right. And so then, Congressman, how successful will they be at this greater control if all they've done is, in this effort at regime change, is just get rid of the head of the regime, but keep everybody else who were lieutenants of the head of that regime? And our colleague, David Noriega, was on in the early hours saying, this minister has been on television. That minister has been on television. The fact that state television is up says that the regime is still in power. So is the administration just being hopeful without a plan?
Sorry, I left out that second part, which you stated quite well. Okay, so the plan is to get control of Venezuela and use the oil, which is wrong on a whole series of levels. But also, even if you accept the plan at face value and say, okay, let's go get that done, this isn't going to get that done for all the reasons you just stated, because they don't really have a plan, as near as I can tell. Okay, Maduro's gone. Who's running the country? And Trump comes out yesterday and says, we're running the country. Really? How exactly? We have nobody in the country. You've got Mrs. Machado, who was the democratically elected president, who is internationally recognized. Apparently, Trump doesn't seem to think that she's adequate for the job. The vice president has stepped up now. So who is going to run Venezuela? How is this even going to play out within the, ridiculous is the wrong word, oppressive and wrong terms of Trump's plan here? He doesn't seem to have a plan for what comes next.
Congressman Smith, as you were answering that question, we got word in Secretary Rubio is on ABC right now. He said, quote, we expect to see changes in Venezuela. He's not answering who is actually running Venezuela. Okay. So that is just right now.
And we actually saw that. We actually saw that ourselves. He refused to answer, and he also refused to answer under what legal, like, what is the legal? What are they? What is the law that they're following? Like, what gives him the right to run Venezuela? And he couldn't answer that. But let me see here. I wanted to play this Maduro clip real quick, where he basically says he's willing to talk to Trump. So let's see here. I haven't actually seen that before myself, but let me play it here. 2 seconds. Is this it right here? Oh, here it is. Okay. No. Okay, hold on. Can't play this one. Sorry. Hold on a second. This is not it. Is it Fox News that they were going on in this? Is it Fox? Let me see. Maybe it's this one? Let's play that one.
All right, you're watching Live Now. I'm Austin Westfall. We continue to track the latest on the U.S.'s pressure campaign against Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Maduro is saying that his government is ready to discuss an agreement with the United States to prevent drug trafficking, and this is coming after the CIA reportedly struck a docking area in Venezuela believed to be used by cartels. Venezuelan state TV airing an interview with Maduro yesterday where he said, quote, the U.S. government knows, because we've told many of their spokespeople, that if they want to seriously discuss an agreement to combat drug trafficking, we are ready.
Okay, hold on. Now let me find that video real quick. All right, let me just see what that comes up. Did I spell this? Okay. Anyway, it'll figure it out. Here we go. Yeah, I just want to see this for the record. I actually haven't seen this one before, so let me just pull this up real quick.
The internet is the biggest.
Here we go, and see what actually happens. Yes. Yeah. But in any case, this is, crazy situation. I'm going to be back, by the way. Is this the same damn video? Hold on. Okay. Is it right here? Okay. Do they play clips? All right, I see it. So hold on. Let me just go to his and see if they let this play. Can you all see that? Let me take my, let me move this a little bit. Oh, I can't do it that way? Let's see here. Can I do it like this? No, hold on. 2 seconds. Is this? Let me pull it down here. Okay, now let's check it out here. Let's see what it does.
Against him. They voted for the opposition candidate in the last election. He stepped in and pulled string.
Okay, they don't want to play. What is this? That's not the video. That's not the video. Sources? Let's see here. Is it only Al Jazeera? Okay. Let me see this. Does anybody play a video? That's what I'm trying to see. You know, it's okay that we have the quote, but I actually want to see the video. Speaking to state-run Venezuelan TV. Okay, that wouldn't be accessible from here, maybe. Is that what's going on? They don't show any clip. Is it this one right here? No, it's not that one. Okay, could do Ukraine. No. And this is Al Jazeera. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to have to try to find that at a different time. Apparently, they don't have that clip. That clip is not so readily available. Let me know if you've seen that before. I'm curious about that. But in any case, let's continue with this.
Rubio's right about that. There will be changes in Venezuela. Now, what those changes are, they don't seem to have the first clue about what they are. But let's step back and understand why this is a problem. All right. Well, why does it matter? Okay.
Yeah,
it matters, A, because you're going to have a further destabilized Latin America, and B, because this rules-based international order that we've all come to have a certain amount of contempt for, and I understand why. Post 9/11, the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and elsewhere, we pushed the boundaries of that rules-based international order because we thought our security interests demanded it, in part, in a way that was a mistake, without question. But that's the great irony of Trump. Trump ran, in part, exploiting the American people's rightful concerns about that and saying, yeah, that was wrong, that was stupid, I'm not going to do it. When, in fact, he's upping it even further and doing it even more and building off of that. Instead of learning the lessons about the limitations of regime change, he's diving right in and trying to do it wherever he can, which is dangerous and wrong, but it also undermines any sort of peace and stability. Ties back to Ukraine, to my mind. Part of the reason Trump is so sympathetic with Putin is he believes in strongman rule and spheres of influence, and he has sympathy for Putin. And that's incredibly dangerous for stability, certainly in Europe, but in Africa, in the Middle East, in the whole world. If we just say, might makes right, go take what you can, that's the world we had prior to World War II, which led to a whole series of disastrous.
Simple-minded leaders thinking basic on thinking on a wavelength that is so just unintelligent, ignorant, you know what I mean? And misconfusing the complexities of people and how people gather, how people socialize together. You're not always going to have people in the next country next to you that are your allies or willing to work with you because of whatever histories. And that's the complexity of the entire world. And now what they want to do is, since people have built a bridge of trade that extends across the globe, with people that want to work with you. If someone wants to work with you, they say they want to work with you. What Trump wants to do is now make it regional. Like, no, we don't want freedom of choice to be a part of it. We want to enforce it. So now what he's doing is essentially turning America, the entire region, into something that is run by him and run by the United States. Like, he's essentially announcing war without saying it, because you can't just have this philosophy. Of course, he would say it's not that, blah, blah, blah. But look, there's plenty of wars that start without people announcing them and calling them wars. But isn't this an act of war? If you think you can just take things from people without them choosing it for themselves, isn't that somewhat? I mean, what do you all think? I mean, is Trump essentially doing that de facto, sitting there as the president of the United States? Is he actually basically saying, you give us what we want or you're going to have war? I mean, and in terms that, what I like about this, who's this guy's name here that was just doing his commentary here? He actually mentioned that, in 9/11, the boundaries were already stretched, with these international rules and things. We already stretched the boundaries of that, what could be due. And now Trump is extending it even further. Is he basically letting people know that he's just going to attack people in America? Like, it's only a matter of time. If you don't do what we want, it's only a matter of time that our military is going to attack you. If you don't do what we say, our military is going, you have to work with us. It's not a choice anymore. Like, you must work with the U.S. government, or, I mean, on trade or whatever the U.S. Government wants of you, there's going to be a problem if you don't. Like, I just think that's really, really foul. You know, now let me see here. Who is this? Let me see. I think Rafika said, well, what did you say? Rafika said, I think when the House comes back and the Senate comes back tomorrow, which is today, it's Monday, right? It's about 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That will be in about 4 hours from now. Folks will start hearing stuff out of Congress, right? And I agree with you. I think it's possible. Like, if these people don't have nothing to say about this, and I'm talking about the Republicans, the Republican congressional members, if they don't have nothing to say about this, wouldn't that equal that they're through? Like, what about the Senate? Because the Senate can move around Congress also. I mean, excuse me. Wouldn't that mean that the senators that aren't talking about this on Monday, wouldn't that mean that they're through? They should just forget any other elections, because Trump has really, really crossed the line here, you know, and he's really, really crossed the line. Now, let me see here. I think you're talking about the Middle East. So, okay, I see the chatters. You guys are really chopping it up here. Okay. So let's go further. Yo, to the listeners, please like the video if you get a chance. If you haven't liked the video, also subscribe if you enjoy the content. And I'm going to be out here pretty soon in the next maybe 15 minutes, but I want to hear what the rest of Legacy Media had to say from yesterday.
And he has sympathy for Putin, and that's incredibly dangerous for stability, certainly in Europe, but in Africa and the Middle East and the whole world. If we just say, you know, might makes right, go take what you can, that's the world we had prior to World War II, which led to a whole series of disastrous global wars, and that we tried to fix over the course of the last 80 years. This harms Americans' interests. This is not just an academic discussion.
Mm-hmm. Congressman Adam Smith, thanks so much for joining us this morning. We'll be watching your committee closely this week. Now we are joined by Democratic Congressman Raj Krishnamurthy. He's a member of the House Intelligence Committee. Thank you, Congressman, for joining us this morning. I don't know the extent of which you might have heard our conversation with Ranking Member Smith, but I want to continue and jump off of that. And we've done a lot of analysis and questioning around how the ousting of Maduro fits and squares into the Trump administration's strategy and political strategy and the Make America Great Again ethos. But I'm wondering how you think it squares when you take a 30,000-foot step back into the Democratic Party platform. There are some members, a handful, whose statements have read as slightly permissive of what the administration has done. At this point, Maduro's gone. The country could descend into complete chaos, causing great instability in the region. One, how would you characterize the party's attitude towards nation building? And two, do you want, and do other members, Democratic members at this point, want this transition to succeed?
Well, we want to transition, but we don't want to occupy the country. I've not met a single person, whether it's a Democrat or even a Republican, that wants to run Venezuela. None of my constituents do. And I think that's why a war powers resolution is absolutely necessary right now to debate. If the Republicans really want to defend occupying and running Venezuela, they should come to the American people and make their case clear. I think the second issue that I keep hearing about is we're just emboldening our adversaries, whether in Beijing or in Moscow, to basically do the same, whether in Taiwan or Ukraine, again, lowering our national security. And the third big concern that I hear repeatedly is, nobody wants to get into an occupation, in part because it's going to cost trillions of dollars, thousands of American lives, and it's going to basically take away resources from the pressing domestic agenda of helping Americans who are facing a horrible economy here at home.
Congressman, really quickly, I want to get back to Jackie's question. For you, Was the taking of the leader of Venezuela a good thing, yes or no, really quickly? And then I'll get to my other question.
Well, I think that no one's shedding tears. I'm not for him being brought to justice.
Take
but
that as a yes.
And the way in which he was spirited away and the incursion is a brazen illegal act.
Okay. One of the things, and our team has been following Secretary of State and National Security Advisor Marco Rubio on ABC, and he just said elections in Venezuela are premature. It is very unclear to me what the plan is for them when they say they're going to run the country, for the partners that they're going to have to help run that country, whether that is going to be Delcy Rodriguez, who seems to be saying she doesn't want it to be her, or
And this is the crazy thing, like, to make that assessment public, to actually make that statement, it's one thing to believe that, but to have come to the conclusion and where you're stating it to the world that it's premature elections. I mean, do they really know what they're talking about? Like, what does premature mean? If it's, if you're not looking to do it, then it is premature. If you're not looking to have elections, you know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck? What's going on here? But I mean, isn't that what you would want? Wouldn't your comment be different? Like, yeah, we're talking with different groups about the possibility of an election. Who made the determination that it's premature? What? It's almost like they don't know what the question is really about and answer differently. You know what I mean? Like, is it that, or just that or is it both? Is it that they don't have any intention on having an election, but they also don't know what you're supposed to do in this situation? Premature according to who, and why is it premature? But that's their statement. It's premature, but is there any other thing that is supposed to actually happen outside of elections? Or, I mean, why are elections? What is it that they can't do to have safe and fair elections in Venezuela? What is it that they can't do? What's the obstacle to that now that the eyes of all of South America and all the world are interested in Venezuela? So what would the problems be with having an election? How would that not work if you have observers there and you have, I don't get it. But again, once you invade, you open up a can of worms any point. You see what I mean? Once you invade, you're supposed to know what you're going to do already before you go in. You know what I mean? It's supposed to already be set up what step B is, after getting in. And now you're seeing that they don't really know. They don't really know, man. These guys don't know. It seems like that to me. Like, they don't actually know. And of course, we know they want something, but what they want, of course, if you just follow their pattern, what they want is the oil, because usually they throw what they want right out there in the public, and it's so shocking. You'd be like, you can't go in there just for oil. But yeah, that's probably what it is. But there's no means of getting the oil legally. There's no means. You can't just shake them down for the oil. It have to be a process that plays out in the public eye. How are you going to have a criminal process that plays out in front of the entire world? It haven't worked, but it's almost like that's what they looking for. This shit doesn't seem good to me. I mean, it's just my thoughts, but yeah, I don't see. It just seems like a debacle. Like, Trump just created. I think people are going to start calling this. This might go down as the Epstein Wars. Like, people might just start calling this the Epstein War, because what could be, and what could be the necessity? What could the necessity of here and now really have been about Venezuela in the first place? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it that necessary? Was it that important to invade and get this oil, like, right now? Is it right now? What is the right now about it? And I can only think of two things. Trump is old as fuck and is about to step down, or is old as fuck and people, it's like, this is like a vacuum. You know what I mean? The less you have going on, like, I put it to you this way. When Trump slows down this time, he is done. When he's done with his activity, whatever this little funny game is that he's on, he is done, And it doesn't matter who initiates the final blow. It's just a matter of when you see this guy slow down and not doing anything, the vultures are going to come in and eat his carcass. You see what I mean? Whether it's the vultures around him in his cabinet that are looking for their day, you know, or whether it's Congress, that's the people that are fed up and are like, get rid of all of these motherfuckers. And on top of that, we want some Supreme Court justice also. We want some of them out of there too, that led to this whole debacle with Trump, allowing a criminal to run for office, is covering for a criminal, you know. And you know, but it just seems like I'm pretty sure my instinct, I'm just talking about my instinct now, I'm just pretty sure that this man is on his last leg. Like, yeah, because it doesn't seem like they had a plan, you know. And of course, rushing, I could see why you would rush if you're on your last leg. So maybe it's a combination of the Epstein files. Maybe it's a combination of him being on his last leg. It could be both. But, you know, I think this pretty much works with the Epstein files, though. I got to be honest with you, you know, because the motherfucker could have held on a little longer if he wasn't so busy doing shit like this. You know what I'm saying? Taking on any activity. I mean, that's his pattern. He got a whole list of new shit that he's working on since these files. I mean, I don't know. But in any case, let's hear the rest of this, with what they have to say here, and then I'm going to be out, y'all.
The opposition.
The Epstein wars. You know what I'm saying? It's ironic how, you know, Venezuela could find themselves caught up in the Epstein files. You know what I'm saying?
Who Donald Trump said is too weak and doesn't have enough support.
I bet you Maduro never expected that shit, you know?
In the country, the haphazardness feels like a place in which, as we move forward, Republicans even might have a lot of questions. How are you as Democrats going to force them to ask their friends in the White House about these things?
Well, I think that they're already asking. As you know, Marjorie Taylor Greene issued scathing statements along with Mr. Massey and others. And I think that there are already kind of these, at least private doubts that people have. The question is whether they'll be willing to say them publicly. And we need to help surface that, again, through bringing this war powers resolution to bear, but also in the appropriations process. Remember, we have to fund any kind of occupation or quote unquote running of the country.
MAGA, all Americans, everybody, all of them together. Anybody that's funding this, had a job last year, you funded this. You know what I mean? Whether you like it or not, you know what I mean? All of you, you know what I mean? Even the illegal immigrants and shit. Do they pay federal taxes? I don't know. But listen, all residents, anybody that had an ability to pay taxes, federal taxes, paid for this, right? And I'm pretty sure, I'm not too sure what the rules are for like residents. Yeah, residents, you got to pay federal taxes. You pay federal taxes. People that have legal residence in the USA pay federal taxes. They just don't get to vote on the federal level, you know? But yeah, I had to rethink that myself because I pay federal taxes here for Denmark. I don't pay them for the US. You know, I have to report my taxes to the US, but I pay the local tax here since I'm a resident here, right? But yeah, it just, you know, it's really sad to know that, listen, you're all in Americans. With this operation, you're all in this together. This is a socialized operation, taxpayer paid for operation. It took all types of Americans to pay for this bad boy. It took Latinos, it took blacks, it took Asian Americans, African Americans, it took Canadian Americans for that matter. It takes a lot of Irish Americans. It takes handicapped people that are working, right? It takes gay people that are working that pay taxes. Everybody paid for this. You see what I mean? And I just think that this is an inflection point. Like, you know, both parties could do this voluntarily, by the way. Both people, you know, Venezuelan people could say, listen, our interests lie in each other. If we don't get our shit together fairly, you see, this thing is coming to our doorstep. And I think this might be a inflection moment for all countries around the world. Like, come together. Again, I'm going to play the Danish King's speech the other day because I'm pretty sure it's translated now for everyone to understand it and hear it. If not, I'm going to do it myself and then play it. But he made a very good speech on New Year's Eve about everyone, whether you're here going to school, whether you're an immigrant who moved to Denmark and lives here and became a citizen, whatever, or whether you're a Dane, we're all in this together. All for one, one for all. And he was saying that regarding the threats to the country. And I think this is an inflection point when you're dealing with this type of dynamic here with Trump, Putin, Xi, trying to bag the world, right? And then they have their sycophant billionaires behind them trying to get in front. They're basically, the billionaires are basically tied to the hip with the government, in that way. They're like oligarchs. They get the taxpayer dollars to fund shit, to underwrite their projects, and then they get to bag the money themselves. Well, it's a good inflection point for South Americans to say, hey, man, we need to stop being so left, right. We need to find out what is good for everybody and work on that because that is sustainable. It's a good inflection point for Venezuelans to do that because you see the dog is coming to the door when you don't. And it's a good inflection point for Americans to say, hey, why can't we just respect everybody's wishes? It's more sustainable. This way we can insulate ourselves from threats, right? I think everybody can volunteer to do this, but you don't have to. You're not going to be forced to. But I think it's a good point to say, yeah, everybody can have a dog at their door, and I know the temptation for a lot of Americans is to think that won't matter because you got the U.S. military. Let me tell you, your own look, the dog is already there. He's telling you don't get your fucking health care, but you get to pay those taxes the same as you did last year. You don't get to, that's what the dog is already there. They're saying you pay taxes and you don't even, you can just drop this thing about, whether you have the right to education. You don't. You have to go out there and pay for it. It's really sad. This thing about fair housing, you don't have a right to fair housing. It could be an inflection point for all those people that believe that they should have every job should pay a salary that allows you to pay your rent. I'm talking about real jobs. I'm not talking about delivering the newspaper. Maybe that's for kids or something, but any, adult labor job, a job that definitely needs a skilled professional, someone that can read, right? Someone that can coordinate, whatever the job is, lift, move things around. If you're there for 8 hours a day, shouldn't it pay your rent? If you work full time, whatever happened to full time meaning full fucking time? How can you work full time and not get rent money and living money? How can that be? And so it's an inflection point, I think, for Americans. Or you could go the divisive route, and you can go the route of fuck that. I don't need health care. I don't need a living wage. I want to invade Venezuela. You could go that route if you want. I mean, okay. You do what you want to do.
And this will be the opportunity in part to get answers to some serious questions, such as
what's up, Donnie?
How many troops are already in Venezuela? How long will they be there? How much will it cost? And how many lives will be lost and treasure lost as well?
But Congressman, do you really believe that the Trump administration cares about a war powers resolution or measure from Congress, even if it were to pass the House and the Senate? Why should the American people believe that this administration is going to respect that? They haven't respected Congress's role for this entire 11 months.
Well, remember what happened with the Epstein files. I think that there's a
and they missed the deadline.
They missed the deadline, but at the same time, it's one of those things where action has been taken. It's starting, and I think that we in Congress have to raise our voice on this particular issue. We can't stay silent. Doing nothing is not an option. And so right now, we have to raise our voice and make sure that the administration is held accountable for what's happened in Venezuela.
has only just begun, as Democratic Congressman Adam Smith, who serves as ranking Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee, writes, quote, I have grave concerns about the impact that today's actions will have on...
All right. So I believe that was it. I think we covered these parts, right? Yeah, we did. And now let me see. Hold on. No. We didn't cover all of it. I'm sorry. Let me get to this part right here. Here we go. Sorry about that.
Previous administrations, and they stole it through force.
Right. So here's Trump talking about the oil again. They stole it through force. You know, what the fuck? This guy is crazy. Like, he's got a whole... This is the troubling part. When you can just keep repeating a lie so willingly over and over and over, and make yourself believe the lie. I mean, I think Trump might even believe some of this stuff, but he's literally talking about Venezuelans stealing Venezuelan oil right now. This is absurd. I mean, you know.
Trump said yesterday about Venezuelan oil. Watch this.
We built Venezuela oil industry with American talent, drive, and skill, and the social...
Okay, when did this build? Let's see here. What the fuck is he talking about? Did the USA build Venezuela's oil industry? I mean, it's worth going over just the facts. And the facts could be that there's more to this, or the facts could be, yeah, the U.S. went in there and started the oil industry. I don't know, but in either case, it doesn't matter. Just because you started some shit doesn't mean I owe you my life forever. I mean, what the fuck is this? You know, like, this is weird. Again, this is weird. This is like a guy dating a woman, and when she don't want to date you no more, you just like, nah, man, you gonna date me? Like, what the fuck? Fuck that. You mine. This is crazy. The guy just doesn't know when to stop. And look, let me pull this up. This is like, this is really weird, but this is definitely 100%. This is definitely 100%. I'm gonna pull it up on the screen. This is definitely 100% ridiculousness, because I don't know if you noticed, but 1912, motherfucker, this was a century ago, 100 fucking years ago. What are you talking about? Like, this dude is 100 years deep in, and he's like, man, we started this shit. Can you imagine that? I mean, it's okay if that's how they want to do things, but from you claiming some shit 100 years ago, this is like a deal that was made with somebody's granddaddy. You know what I'm saying? He just won't let go. This is odd, you know, but this is what he's talking about. Let's hear it. Did it work? Okay, here we go. Sorry about the delay.
question of whether the U.S. built Venezuela's oil industry is a central point of the current political debate following the capture of Nicolas Maduro. Historically, the answer is a mix of pioneering American investment and Venezuelan sovereign control. Here is the breakdown of how the industry was actually formed. 1. The American Talent Era, 1912 to 1976. President Trump recently claimed that the U.S. built Venezuela's oil industry with American talent, drive, and skill. Historically, there is truth to the idea that American and European companies provided the initial capital and technology, early discovery, while Shell, a British-Dutch company, was the first major player in 1912. American companies like Standard Oil, now ExxonMobil, and Gulf Oil.
So Shell was the first. That's a British company. That's not American, just in case people missed that.
Now Chevron, soon surpassed them. Infrastructure. Between 1920 and 1950, U.S. firms built the majority of the rigs, pipelines, and specialized refineries, like those on the U.S. Gulf Coast, designed specifically to process Venezuela's heavy crude oil. Global standing. By 1929, this foreign-led investment made Venezuela the world's second-largest oil producer and largest exporter. 2. The 1976 nationalization. Despite the U.S. role in...
Okay, so this is 70, this is 60, maybe 55 years later, right? 1972 is 55 years later after the first oil company, right?
Building the infrastructure, the Venezuelan government always maintained that the oil belonged to the nation. PDVSA formation. In 1976, President Carlos Andrés Pérez nationalized the industry, creating the state-owned Petróleos de Venezuela S.A., PDVSA. Compensation. U.S. companies were actually compensated for their assets, roughly $1 billion each for Exxon and others, though they argued the payment was far below the actual value of the infrastructure they built. 3. The modern conflict, 2007 present. The current claim of theft mostly refers to the actions of Hugo Chavez in 2007. Expropriation. Chavez seized the remaining assets of U.S. companies that refused to give the state majority control. While Chevron agreed to stay, companies like ExxonMobil and ConocoPhillips had their multi-billion-dollar platforms and fields seized without what they considered fair payment. Decay. Since then, and especially under Maduro, the industry has collapsed from 3.5 million barrels per day in the 1990s to roughly 1 million today.
Okay, so the roots of, according to Trump, the roots of this conflict go to 2007. So that's 20 years ago, basically, right? You could say, no, wait a second. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's 20 years ago, 18 years ago, something like that, right? So, 19 years ago. So that's what Trump basically is trying to say, right? So let's hear some more.
U.S. officials argue this is because the American-built technology was not properly maintained after the Americans were forced out. The current stance, January 2026, as of today, the Trump administration is using the "we built it" argument to justify a U.S.-led reconstruction of the industry. The plan involves sending major U.S. oil firms back into Venezuela to invest an estimated $100 billion to fix what they call rotted and broken infrastructure. Summary table. Who did what? Phase.
So look, so they want to invade and get them to pay them back $100 billion also. Like, this is weird. As of today, the Trump administration is using the "we built it" argument to justify a U.S.-led reconstruction of industry. Taxpayers, did you know that? American taxpayers, did you know that this is what Trump is talking about? The plan involves sending USA major oil firms back into Venezuela to invest the estimated $100 billion, right? But of course, the U.S. military is the one who removed Maduro. They're the ones that will make all this possible. The taxpayer dollars, the socialized dollars, is what's opening up the door to the private industry, essentially here, right? So, they want to put in $100 billion, right? And then they want to make them pay it off. Say, we're going to be here until you pay off $100 billion, right? And then what? How long is that going to take to pay off $100 billion? Let's hear some more.
Main actors. Contribution 1910s to 1970s. Standard Oil, Gulf, Shell. Drilled the first wells, built the pipelines and refineries. 1976. Venezuelan Gov. Perez took ownership of the industry, created PDVSA. 2007. Hugo Chavez seized remaining private assets, led to major U.S. legal claims. 2026. Trump administration claims the industry was stolen and plans to use U.S. firms to rebuild it. Would you like more details on the specific U.S. companies, like Chevron, that are currently positioned to take over these operations?
Yes. Damn. Yeah, we may as well finish it off with some of these little details here. The argument is the argument. People can look into that and poke holes in it, right? But it's good to hear their argument. But now let me just see who are the companies they're saying are involved. Okay. Following the capture of Nicolas Maduro. All right, hold on. Let me see. Can it play back? Let me see what it says here. Here. All right.
Following the capture of Nicolas Maduro on January 3, 2026, several major U.S. companies are strategically positioned to restart and reconstruct Venezuela's oil industry. President Trump has explicitly stated that U.S. energy titans will go in to fix the badly broken infrastructure, and that they will be reimbursed for their multi-billion-dollar investments.
So Trump is guaranteeing them that they will be reimbursed. Who's going to reimburse them? Who's supposed to reimburse them? Do you think Trump has it in his mind that the motherfucking U.S. taxpayers will reimburse them if anything is lost? What's going to stop them from taking the shit again after they invest $100 billion? This is ridiculous. But you know what? He might actually be telling, I don't know if this, because the way this language goes, he might actually be telling them that don't worry about it. No matter what, the U.S. taxpayer will take care of it if you get robbed again. this might be the case. This might be the case. I mean, this is bizarre. This is bizarre.
1. The frontrunners, extraction and production. These companies have the deepest history in the country and are expected to be the first to secure new contracts. Chevron, CVX, the primary leader. Chevron is currently the only major U.S. oil company still operating in Venezuela. Because it maintained its joint ventures with PDVSA during the Maduro era, it has the institutional knowledge to ramp up production almost immediately. Its stock surged roughly 7% in pre-market trading this morning. ExxonMobil.
Did you hear that? Damn. That's interesting. I might want to look into that. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm going to look into that right after this show is over.
XOM. After being pushed out by Hugo Chavez in 2007, Exxon is seen as a next big beneficiary. Analysts expect they will be awarded major projects quickly to help manage the country's massive reserves, especially given their recent success in neighboring Guyana.
But, you know, I'm not an oil person. You know, I'm not really cool with this. Also, this thing right here, fuck that. And also, you got to be careful, you know, because what goes up goes down in the stock market. You know, and this shit doesn't seem like it's totally secured yet. But if you're a betting person and if you're a person that does day trading, it might be something for you there.
ConocoPhillips, COP. This is largely a recovery play. ConocoPhillips is currently chasing over $12 billion in legal claims for assets seized years ago. A U.S.-led administration would likely prioritize settling these debts and inviting them back to manage the heavy crude fields they once operated. 2. The boots-on-the-ground oilfield services.
Conoco.
While the oil majors own the fields, these companies provide the actual machinery and labor to fix the wells. Halliburton, HAL, often called the first in, Halliburton has maintained a skeleton crew and mothballed equipment in Venezuela for years. They are the top candidate for the technical contracts needed to repair decaying pipelines and rusted rigs. SLB, formerly Schlumberger, essential for subsurface work. They have significant equipment already stored in Venezuela and will likely be tapped to modernize the high-tech drilling required in the Orinoco Belt. Baker Hughes, another major service provider expected to see a massive surge in local hiring and contracts as the reconstruction phase begins. 3. The destination, U.S. Gulf Coast refiners. Venezuela produces a heavy sour crude that is difficult to process. Only specific refineries, mostly in the U.S., are built to handle it. Marathon Petroleum and Valero Energy. These companies operate the high-tech coker units on the Gulf Coast designed to turn Venezuela's sludgy oil into high-value diesel. Having a stable, nearby source of oil would significantly lower their costs compared to importing from the Middle East. The Elon effect and technology. Market analysts are also watching Palantir, PLTR, which provided the data analytics used in the military operation to capture Maduro.
Now, you see that? This guy's he's getting taxpayer dollars, Palantir. They're getting taxpayer dollars. He's got 3 citizenships. Not just Elon Musk, but they're talking about Peter Thiel here. Yeah, actually, I'm really good. I'm really happy that I bothered to listen to this. But, yeah, again, subsidized by the U.S. taxpayer, yo. This is crazy.
Their success is being viewed as a validation of their technology for high-stakes intelligence and precision operations. Current obstacle. While the U.S. claims to be running the country for now, experts warn that it will take roughly $100 billion in a decade to return Venezuela to its peak production of 3.5 million barrels per day. Would you like to know how the Venezuelan opposition or the interim leaders are reacting to these plans for U.S. companies to take over the oil fields?
You know, I just had a thought here. It seems to me that the first thing that's going to happen is somebody else like China is going to say, we could do it for cheaper. And then what? Then that just fucks your whole deal up, you know? And I'm almost certain. Let me know if you hear any news about that. I can look it up, but I got to get out of here. It's like 3.5 hours now. So I got to get up out of here, get some rest. Cause I got to actually go to work, chime in at the, punch the clock later on, today. So I need to get some rest before that happens. But, let me see here. Let's see what it says here. As of January 25th, 2026. The reaction in Venezuela to U.S. plan for oil reconstruction is deeply divided and controversial, particularly because President Trump has effectively sidelined the traditional Democratic opposition leaders. Okay. 1. The interim leader, Delcy Rodriguez, in a surprising move following the capture of Maduro, the Venezuelan Supreme Court named Delcy Rodriguez, the former vice president, as the interim president. Her stance, despite her long history as a Maduro ally, Rodriguez has reportedly offered to collaborate with the Trump administration. Okay, that's interesting. Where's that from? You know, according to what source? I'm curious about that. But the collaboration she has invited the U.S. to work on shared development agenda. The U.S. pressure. Trump has warned that Rodriguez must do what is right, or she will pay a bigger price than Maduro. For now, the U.S. appears to be using her as a technocratic bridge to maintain order while American companies move in. The opposition, Maria Corina Machado and El Mundo Gonzalez, the leaders who were widely considered the victors of the 2024 election, Nobel Peace Prize winner Maria Corina Machado and El Mundo Gonzalez, have been notably marginalized by the current U.S. strategy. Their reaction, Machado has called for the immediate recognition of El Mundo Gonzalez. Okay. So Machado has called for the immediate recognition of El Mundo Gonzalez. Okay, that's great to know. As the rightful president, she remains a strong proponent of privatizing the oil industry, but she wants it done under a sovereign democratic Venezuelan government rather than a U.S.-run administration. Very good to know. That's her perspective. I'm going to get the references here, and then I'm going to post that on the video once it's done, right? The video comment section. The video description once it's done. So take note of that. Sidelined by Trump during his Mar-a-Lago press conference, Trump dismissed Machado, stating that she did not have the necessary respect and support to lead a transition. This has caused significant, that must be some bullshit, because if one had the respect, then why wouldn't the opposition? You know what I mean? This has caused significant friction among the Venezuelan diaspora in the U.S., who view Machado as a legitimate leader. Again, people were fooled. A lot of immigrants fooled by Trump. Take note of that. The oil reconstruction plan, detention centers on who will be the control of 1.7 trillion opportunity that Machado previously described. Okay, so that's what they're valuing the assets at, 1 trillion. Okay, the Trump plan. Trump has stated that the U.S. will run Venezuela temporarily and the American companies, blah, 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 Chevron, Exxon will take over. Yeah. We heard that to ensure it's fixed. The opposition plan, the Machado plan, focused on transparent privatization to global investors. I mean, that works for me today, to be honest with you, because privatization doesn't have to be extreme exploitation. It's very simple. There's plenty of models out there in the world where you see that happening right now. You see what I mean? Taxes can be levied on oil companies. You see what I mean? And they can, if you don't get ownership, you can get taxes. Very simple. Make oil something you tax a whole lot if it's got to be privatized. But in any case, every country figures out what the median is. So in any case, to global investors, which would have kept the decision-making power in Venezuelans' hands. Okay. So, summary, the power struggle, folks get it. Okay, bottom line, while Venezuelans are celebrating the end of Maduro's rule, there's growing wariness that the country's sovereignty is being replaced by the U.S. Okay, so there you have it, folks. Yo, I'm going to be out of here soon. Let me look at the chat and just check in on what folks been talking about here. Okay, Rafika says she did. I told you earlier. Okay, yeah. Well, it's good. It's good to review the news openly live here. This is the live reaction. I haven't watched all of the things, and I just took some notes and saved the videos. Put them in a section where I could recall them when it's time for the stream. But I haven't seen all the information, and I haven't done any of the research. I'm actually doing it live. That's part of what I'm doing here. I'm just saying that. I know you know, but I'm just saying that for others that don't know, that just began to watch. I like to do part of it live because it makes it a little exciting for people, and you don't know what's going to come up with pieces of information. By the way, I do take some notes from the chat too when people bring up some ideas maybe I haven't heard about or need to look into, or maybe I have heard and forgot about it, or maybe I didn't hear everything about what it was. So it's good to have the chat rolling and serious people in the chat. I put the chat in the subscriber mode today just because I remember, I know I had this beginning little thing with one of my other viewers, and big up to you. I forgot the name, excuse me for that, but we actually worked it out pretty well. I made the assumption of assuming that he was a troll by one of his comments, but hey, it is what it is. Now we know that's not the case. But I did also, when I thought that was a troll, sometimes I forget different users too, you know what I mean? And I could also misread a comment, by the way, I can do that. And so it just reminded me, you know what, let me just put the chat in subscriber mode, because that usually reduces the troll activity. But it's not that I necessarily knew if he was a troll or not, and it wasn't a troll. So big up to you. Big up to you, bro, that was in here early in the chat. But on that note, it's been some interesting news out of it. We found out that, at least we got the word about Machado backing up the other president, that he was elected. You know what I'm saying? And let me see here. Somebody asked a question. Eric, Master V Carb DM is curious about your AI software choice. Oh, I don't use I use AI when I'm using DaVinci Resolve for editing, but I don't use that for these lives, right? I'm only using that for my documentary, the one that's coming out soon, Hometown DC. But Black Magic software, DaVinci Resolve, has some AI components to it. A lot of new programming, by the way. If you're into music, a lot of programs have AI built in, things that you can plugins that are AI now. But I don't use, when I'm doing the chat, you mean as far as when I'm doing the chat, I use two programs and I just alternate. I use today I was using Gemini, and sometimes a lot of times earlier, in a lot of other podcasts, you might have seen me using ChatGPT. They look pretty much the same, but they're a little different, but it's good to evaluate different software. And so I also use that as an opportunity to evaluate the software live. You know what I'm saying? So let me see. Dylan says, oh, okay. Now Johnny Boy says, Dylan, nobody should be ostracized over the trans issue. Yeah, I hear you, man. I'm, as an adult 55-year-old man, I try not to, I meet people where I want to meet them. So I'm meeting people based on what they have to offer intellectually or what they have to offer business-wise, right? Socially, yeah, also at times, but not always socially. To be honest with you, I have friends and people, and when I have time, I go out to have a drink with my friends and things like that, and kick back. But, in general, socializing, it's also about someone's intellectual capacity. I'm not going out looking for I'm not going out looking for much else. And if I am, I'm a heterosexual man. So I'm interested in women, right? That's who I am. So, I don't have an issue with somebody being different from me. I don't have an issue with that. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother it. To me, I would feel like an idiot. Now, if there's people, regardless of who you are, if you're doing some behavior that I find uncomfortable, I'm always able to leave, get up and move myself, right? And that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter what it is, the behavior. It could be gay people. It could be straight people. Straight people don't always act right around other people. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter what the behavior is. You have to know when to pick it up yourself, and think for yourself without making it bigger than that. But I don't feel good looking down on other people or marginalizing people or trying to, box people out like that just have normal intentions. You know what I'm saying? Like everyday intentions. I mean, come on. I don't feel good as a person that way. So I just try to keep it that way. And also keep this in mind in your life. You you actually you have the right to choose the places you want to be. You got the right to choose the places you want to be, and you have a lot of freedoms. Again, I try to tell people all the time, focus on what you like. Stop focusing on what you don't like. Focus on what you like. Stop focusing on what you don't like. If you're focusing on what you do like, you'll put yourself in situations where you can deal with things. If you're focusing on things you don't like, you're spending too much energy and you won't build the other side for whoever you are. You see what I mean? So that's my advice to people. Like, but also stop thinking in stark terms all the time too. That's not helpful either, regardless of what it is. Don't stop forgetting that there's nuances to everything. You see what I mean? So you don't want to be so stark all the time, about how you approach things. You need to be open-minded and level-headed too, and reasonable when you start dealing with these issues that people have. You know what I'm saying? So on that note, I'm gonna be out. I appreciate everybody for coming through, and everybody have a good beginning of your work week today. I know a lot of people going back to work today. Congress, they got to work. Thank God. Goddamn, y'all had a long vacation, Congress. Like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? You might not have a job pretty soon if you don't get back to work. People are looking forward to firing your ass if you don't get back to work. Don't you understand that? It's like you might want to show up to work early today if you Congress in the United States, and please save your country, because goddamn, it's not looking good. And understand this. Your allies will turn somewhere else if you don't get your fucking country straight. Like, they're not trying to die. Nobody else around the world is trying to fucking just die because Donald Trump don't want to act right. Because Donald Trump want to make shit fucked up and difficult. Nah, people want to survive. And if they have to pick other people to work with, they fucking will. That's exactly what you're going to see. So get it straight, Congress. And there ain't going to be a whole lot of $1 billion left when the dollar starts sinking. It's going to start closing in on the greedy people. And the people under them, they're going to get fired too. You know what I'm saying? When this shit starts turning the wrong way. So, my advice is get to work, do something about it, and stop playing games with people, because, people going to get tired of that shit, But in any case, all right, y'all, I'm out. I'm going to catch up with you all in 24 hours. I'll be back. In 19 hours, I will be back. So appreciate it, everybody. Y'all be good, all right? One. Oh, you know what we're going to do? Impeach Trump. Sorry about that. Impeach Trump. Impeach Trump and impeach some of these Supreme Court justices. And goddamn, you know what I'm saying? Like, please get some people some health care and some goddamn reasonable prices. Like, I mean, there's in Denmark, I just got to tell you, in Denmark, y'all, in case y'all don't know, in Denmark, they about to get rid of the taxes on vegetables and fruits. Just to let you know, yes, that's about to be, I believe, a thing across the whole country. Anyway, peace, y'all. I'll be back. One, I love y'all. Have a good day.
Can you feel it? Nothing can save you, cause this is the season of funky behavior. I came to relax your mind, you can recline. On what? On this here rhyme. I like the style, I'm staying for a while. It helps me show cats that I'm versatile. I'll touch your dial, turn your frown to a smile. I'll make you feel like you're having a child. So relax and open up, child. I'm about to make you walk what? Pimp style or pimped out style. You don't understand the logic. See, if you don't have it all, I'll take a deposit. I got shit for you, it's alright indeed. It's like going to the garden and planting the seed. It might tickle for a second, but it won't bleed. So just relax, just hear a dope cry. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can where you're at. Just relax, and just hear a dope cry. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can where you're at. Your entertainment, at the same time, edutainment. In other words, You could call it bent. What I'm saying is that I'm here at your service. It's hard work, but then again, I deserve this. I'm helping people enjoy their spare time. I'm like an instructor when I'm doing my rhyme. Relax and just hit the dope track. It's really not all that, it's not like a gag. We like that when everything is relaxed and chill. You don't have to get fucked up or take pills, cause I like being myself, it feels good. Yo, it makes my meals taste good. 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 So just relax. It's your dope track. The vibes is real nice, everything is real bad. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat, just relax. And hear a dope track. The vibes is real nice, everything is real bad. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat, just relax. My mind state, that balloon, it won't inflate. Just take the buzz, this much wiser kid, fuck the shade. And take it to a lower level, and dig a ditch for a devil. Got some more kids and pass the shovel. Dig a hole, take them on a spiritual roll. Lyrics unfold, either that or unroll the scroll. Episodes keep reoccurring and stifling people's vision get blurring. Their hearts start murmuring. I'm about 5 times iller than a Sherman. The introspection is God's gift to the miracle. I freak material, lamb's milk without the cereal. When MCs say your booty, they mean venereal. Your fake material hip-hop killers, they more faking than fucking Michael Jackson and Thriller. The status of a hoe, Quanto Costa. They wanna know how much it costs, kid, I bet for keep to me just relax and just hear a dope track. The vibes is real nice, everything is real bad. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat, just relax and just hear a dope track. The vibes is real nice, everything is real bad. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat, just relax. I traveled the globe just to gain perspective. The theory of relativity applied. Of course, it took a while to decide how I should proceed, but even my life is truly based upon need. So I move forward with more deliberate speed. Smash corny motherfuckers that stuck on greed. My seed is worth more than $1 million in future stock. The goal is to break the safe, the padlock. Mad cats can't stop it, need a rocket. Your style is boring and cold, mine is tropic. Battles you want, commit, you'll change the topic. My partner should get to put your beat in the pocket. So this nigga here